What's going on, guys? Hope you're having a good day, and I hope you're having a good week as always. I want to talk about Nashville officials withheld COVID numbers for restaurants and bars because cases were so low. Should be a huge story. We've had, obviously, people have seen a virus, and a reaction to the virus has shut down our society unlike anything we've seen in probably the last 100 years. So when you find out that you have city officials covering up good data, it shows that they have a bias, it shows that they don't want good information, and it shows that they're actively keeping very important information away from people that could lead to your freedom, lead to your, resurrection of the Constitution, which is the right to protest, which they didn't allow people to do if it was against the lockdown, your right to run your business, go to a gym, all these things that we've enjoyed for our entire lives that they took away from us over a bunch of data that they have since clearly they don't want to tell the truth about, because when it doesn't go in their favor, they got caught in Nashville covering it up. Huge story. I got it here. And then on top of that, I'm going to just show you a few lines. I've been reading this book, How to Lie with Statistics. This book was on Bill Gates' reading list. He told you to read it a few years ago. It was written in the 1950s about how to lie with statistics. If you ever looked at a poll and said, I don't think I believe the poll, there's nothing wrong with you. The media tries to shame you. Politicians try to shame you and say, you're a liar, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a horrible person if you don't believe the poll. But it was written about, almost 100 years ago now, maybe 60, 70 years ago, about why you should be skeptical of these polls. How many people did they count? What were their target audience? How accurate is it? These are questions that you should ask. You should have critical thinking skills. You should question politicians. You should ask where the numbers are coming from. You should try to crunch them yourself. And these are the things that if you do, they cover you up, they censor you, and they try to destroy your character in the public image. Not because it's right, not because it's science. That's not science. That's the opposite of science. These people are smear agents and cover-up agents that are trying to destroy critical thinking in this country. They want anybody who thinks outside of what they tell you to think to be a thought crime. And we're going to talk about that, how they're censoring, who they're censoring for, and the two countries that get priority over America. In America, you could badmouth America, the Constitution, the flag, the national anthem, easier than you can criticize or even question two countries. And we're going to talk about it and talk about why. God bless you guys. I appreciate you. I'm going to sip my coffee. We'll have a good time. And I'm going to just post this to the top real quick as people are coming in. These are my hats, the shirts, and then my free email list. I'm not going to pin it to the top because if I pinned it, I wouldn't be able to see your comments. So I'll bypass that. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. Someone said you should mirror your image so everything isn't backwards. Yeah, I don't know how to do that on Facebook, but unfortunately the live streams are backwards on Facebook Lives. I don't know what to tell you. If it wasn't for this hat, you wouldn't even notice. It's just now it says, what does it say? Selb dog. But look, if you look through the back, not only is it made in America, but look, you can see it right there. Look, God bless. Now it's forward. So, we could play with the camera. It's okay. What's up, Beverly? How are you doing? What's up, Michelle? How you doing? Someone said, I went to Tennessee to a Trump store. It was so fun. Yeah, and a lot of these other, anywhere that's not Democrat, they have Trump stores everywhere because these things are selling like hotcakes. What's going on, guys? Rob says New York. Yeah, we're going to talk about their COVID cases too. Let's just get into it. I don't want to take too much time. So I shared this earlier today. If you want to share the full article for your Facebook page, you could just scroll down after or during this live stream and find it. It came out in Newsweek, which is in no way, shape, or form a right-wing publication. It says it's more of a liberal, if anything, but yeah, I guess they could say both sides, whatever. Newsweek reported Nashville officials withheld COVID numbers for restaurants and bars because cases were so low, emails show. In a series of emails obtained, they were having a discussion between the two offices about how to conceal the number associated with restaurants and bars from public being showed. They said, this isn't going to be publicly released, right? Just for the mayor's office. Correct, it's not for public consumption. You could read the whole article yourself. I'm not going to bore you with it, but the point I'm getting to is they knew the numbers were not nearly as bad as they thought they were. They wanted them to be. So instead of giving people that information and saying, hey guys, this is actually really good news. Because if you didn't notice, I don't know if they've destroyed this country's critical thinking skills and just basic understanding of what freedom is and living your life and taking risks and taking care of yourself and having an immune system. And I don't know if you forget the way we used to live, where you could go to a concert, you could go to a restaurant, you could go to a bar, you could stay home, you had the freedom to do whatever you wanted, whether you wanted to be in a room with 1,000 people, 100,000, or 5 people. I don't know if you guys remember that, but when we used to live like that, it actually worked out okay. Not everybody dropped dead all the time, and they have a certain idea about this virus that they really want to be true. So, for instance, before, Sweden had its results age well, I was one of the few people in April, I said, Sweden's going to do fine. Even in April, as the media, even President Trump, both parties were saying, Sweden's so bad, everybody's dying over there. I looked at the data and I said, they're only doing 2 times worse per capita than the United States. So when they told you 10 times as many people, 100 times as many people would have died, where is this data coming from? Where did they get this idea that if they didn't close down bars and restaurants, that 100 times as many people would die? There is no study or case group anywhere in the world that says that. The top 7 worst countries per capita all had lockdowns. Africa's not doing nearly as bad as they thought they would do. The scientists are stunned and the experts are stunned, says the news. We're stunned that Africa's not doing bad. Well, maybe you're not an expert and you're not a good scientist if you're so stunned why Africa's doing so good. It's actually a great thing. Congratulations, Africa. You're not doing nearly as bad as not that they thought that you were going to do, but as they wanted you to do. So it's the same thing here with Nashville. They put this idea in their head. It's not science. They're not even looking at the data. They couldn't do real data if their life depended on it. And as soon as the data comes in and it doesn't go against what they say it is, they hide it from you. These are officials saying, we don't want you to think it's okay to go back to restaurants. We don't want you to think it's okay for your kids to go back to school. We're going to hide any good information that makes you feel better. And that's what they've been doing this whole time. I've been studying not only the COVID numbers in the United States, but per demographic. For the children, it's very, 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 very rare that something bad's going to happen to your kid because of COVID. This is not my opinion. These are the numbers. I mean, you could compare them to flu numbers. Kids are not drastically affected by COVID. They're the safest group by far, not even close. So what did the media do? I'm watching NBC when I'm home. It's like, warning, kids are dying, mysterious illness. We don't know what it's from, but it could be from. And then everyone's like, oh my God, the kids. They do this with everything. They don't care about the data. They don't care about the information. They do what Bill Gates told you to read. He said, read How to Lie with Statistics. So I said, you know what, William? I respect you. I'm going to read How to Lie with Statistics. This entire book is about how most polls, research says 33% of the people who graduated from this school feel this way. Did they ask every single person? Did they ask in every single demographic? Or did they ask 800 people by phone or landline? These are the questions they don't want you to ask. They smear people like me or the president or anybody that uses their brain and critically thinks outside of what the experts and scientists say. And a lot of the experts aren't experts. And a lot of the scientists don't even believe in science, because when it comes to science, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is unquestionable science. Yes, 2 + 2 is 4. That's settled science. As for agriculture, as for space, as for Earth, this is not settled science. Every scientist knows you got to test your hypothesis, and it's not same with this data. It's rolling, it's coming in. The death rate went from 3.4 to 1.2. All of this changes because they're studying it as it goes along. Honest people know this, but when you use your brain and your common sense, they say you're a liar. You got to shut up. But this whole book that Bill Gates told you to read, How to Lie with Statistics, is about exactly why the polls are fake. I'll tell you, even before I read this, I started looking into the polls. When you see a poll, they say, 67% of people in Tennessee are going to vote for Joe Biden or something. And then everyone says, oh my God, Joe Biden is winning in Tennessee. Who did they ask? 99% of people, here's a statistic that's made up, 99% of people, whatever, don't actually even look what the study is. So I go to the website, I click on 5 links to get there, and it says this study was given to 844 people via landline or cell phone. So you're going to take 844 people, ask them a question, and then say it represents millions of people? Which type of people did you ask? Did you ask the elderly? Did you ask the young? Did you ask Democrats? Did you ask more Republicans? Did you go to a town where it's more Democrat? Did you go to a town where it's more Republican? What were the ethnicity of the people? Because if you asked 90% one ethnicity and that ethnicity demographically votes a certain way, all of these things matter. So the data is not accurate. Most polls are not accurate because they're not asking 300 million people and getting the exact answer. They're asking 700 people via cell phone or landline, and they're probably getting a half-assed answer anyway from somebody who just probably clicks it to, yeah, I'm voting for Biden, whatever, just leave me alone. It's such a joke. So I'm going to read two passages from this book, How to Lie with Statistics, which was on Bill Gates' reading list. This comes from, I believe, chapter 2 or 3. It says, the guilt alone does not lie with the medical profession alone. Or the guilt does not always lie with the medical profession alone. Public pressure and hasty journalism often launch a treatment that is unproved, particularly when the demand is great and the statistical background is hazy. So is with the cold vaccines that were popular some years back and antihistamines more recently. A good deal of the popularity of these unsuccessful cures sprang from the unreliable nature of the ailment and from a defect of logic. Given time, a cold will cure itself. So keep in mind, this is not a conspiracy, which I'm just going to read. I'm going to read it again. This is a book that was on Bill Gates' reading list that's talking about how cold vaccines were manipulated with data and that, a lot of them were not as successful as they claimed, but the health experts and such pushed it through. This is not my opinion. I have to watch what I say, because Facebook will try to say it's a conspiracy theory. No, this is the book that Bill Gates told you to read that's openly admitting that in the past they've skewed statistics to give people cold vaccines. You can't make this stuff up, guys. You can see I highlighted right here. Here's another one. I like this line a lot. It says, common sense has somehow failed in the face of convincingly precise and authoritative numbers. So they're saying common sense failed because they put it on a screen. They say 9 out of 10 doctors says so. What 9 out of 10 doctors? How many doctors did you ask? If you flip a coin 10 times, it should be 5 and 5, right? It should be 5 heads, 5 tails. It's not always the case. If you flip a coin 10 times, try it now, you might get 8 heads and 2 tails. So then they could publish that data and say, well, 80% of the people, these are the games that they play, folks. I'm not going to go over the entire book, but I'm just saying How to Lie with Statistics is not my opinion. The reason I hold it up is because Bill Gates himself told people to read this a couple summers ago because he knows exactly how it works, and so does everybody. And so do these Nashville officials who concealed the numbers because they were too low for what they want you to think. These people want you to be afraid to go out in the open. They want you to be afraid of the First and Second Amendment. They want you to be afraid to live your life normally. They want you to be afraid to send your kids to school. They want you to be afraid to go to a concert. They want you to be afraid to go to a bar. So when they get the data and it says, well, people aren't dropping dead at bars because it's not happening. There's nowhere in the world that proves it. Find me a place that's doing as bad as New York and New Jersey per capita. They don't exist. I'm talking about a country, not a city. Because if you look at, I have the data right here, New Jersey has 1,822 deaths per capita. New York has 1,705 deaths per capita per 1 million population. That's higher than San Marino and Peru, which are the 2 worst territories or countries in the whole world. And Peru had a strict lockdown. So there is no data that says not locking down is going to mean 100 times as many people will die. It doesn't exist because the top 7 countries all had lockdown. Shouldn't the top country that has all these deaths not had a lockdown? There's no data on planet Earth that says that not locking down and not doing mask mandates is going to provide hundreds of thousands of more deaths and millions of people dropping dead. It doesn't exist. Africa's doing fine. Sweden's doing fine. Sweden's doing better than we are. And so is Africa. Why? Multiple reasons, most of which you can't talk about because these are the games that they play. Common sense, reason, logic, science, critical thinking are stripped out of you and you get harassed and attacked on every level of society. You might even lose your job as a doctor for having critical thinking skills. But these are the things that for hundreds of years humanity's known. You're allowed to question these people. And when you look at the way they're censoring people, they are not censoring equally. They are not censoring honestly. They are censoring for other countries over America. Trump said something that they disagreed with. That's fine. I don't care. Whatever. You don't have to agree with Trump. You can disagree with him. I disagreed with him today. I don't like his vaccine tweet, but whatever. But they put it up and they say, well, Twitter censors Trump's tweet. Okay, so if you deem that what he says is false, you could censor it. That's their own logic. I don't agree with it. I think it's completely asinine, but they do it. I would semi-respect these people at Twitter if they did it uniform and they said, when we decide that you're lying, whether it's Trump or Xi from China, we're going to censor both of them equally when they lie. But they don't even do that. Not only do they lie about lies, but then they censor Trump for lying. And then when they catch, President Xi, or however you say his name, from China, say something they disagree with, they leave it up. And you can see the same two headlines in the Hill. The one for the president of China, or the leader of China, says, they lied, or an official lied from China, but we don't want to censor. We can't do that at Twitter. We got to just respect the Chinese government. They could lie if they want to lie. But then when Trump does it, they say, we have to censor it. That's our job. So who is Twitter working for? Are they working for the United States of America? No. They're working in the United States of America for China. This is just a fact. You can easier criticize Trump. You can criticize Republicans. You could hate yourself. You could blame an entire race in this country for literally everything. You could teach this in your classrooms. You could do anything. And to be quite frank, with the First Amendment, I don't care what people do. I'm not going to call you a racist or a sexist or a xenophobe. I'm going to just say I disagree and explain why. But you could do all this stuff in America, but you're not allowed to question China. You're not allowed to say that China had any responsibility for the virus. You could falsely say that Trump killed 190,000 people. What does that even mean? They said when he locked down at the beginning, I was one of the people who was like, I hope Trump doesn't lock this country down. I didn't want him to do it from the jump. And everybody said to me, Anomaly, you don't understand. If he doesn't lock down, they're going to blame him for all of the deaths. If Trump doesn't lock the country down, they're going to blame Trump for all the deaths. And I said, you know what? You're right. But here's what people didn't understand. I said, they're still going to blame him. These people don't do science. They have no moral integrity. They have no critical thinking skills. It's all lies. It's all bias. It's all emotion. So I said, even if Trump listens to them, they're still going to blame him. So if Trump would have not shut the economy down, they would have said, Trump's selfish and the economy's booming, but he's killing people. And if Trump did shut it down, what did they do, guys? They blame him for every COVID death, and then they also blame him for the economy. So now they're hitting him from both sides. Look, there's jobs missing, and this is happening, and the fires. These people won't stop lying. And I don't even care that they lie, but my point is, you have social media companies, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, censoring people for communist China, because I don't even care if this is controversial anymore. They are communists. They believe in communism. Read the Communist Manifesto, which I have. Karl Marx was not a person of the people. Karl Marx was not a working class person. He was a con artist who duped working class and rich, kids whose parents have millions of dollars and they think they're fighting the system into thinking giving someone like a Karl Marx or a Vladimir Lenin or a Xi Jinping, or however you say his name, or a Joe Biden, or whoever, a Bernie Sanders, an AOC, giving them, this is what Karl Marx wanted, total control of transport, total control of communication, total control of the banks with the central bank that controlled all the money. This is not for the working people, guys. Karl Marx was a con artist, and so was Vladimir Lenin. He knew, once I have a central bank, I control the money, everything else is pretty easy to control. If you have access to the money, then you could have access to the media, then you can have access. They knew this stuff. So communism doesn't work anytime it's ever functioning. And the socialist says, well, it's never been operated properly. No, did you even read the book? It has been implemented exactly how it was designed every single time. You're never going to have freedom when a central unit controls all communication. It doesn't work that way. Then they're going to shut up people like a Stalin or a Mao or whoever control all communication. And that's what they're doing now. They're working with a foreign government and also among themselves to be communists. This is what they believe in. Look at all of their, well, we want to cancel rent. Well, we want to destroy private property. Well, we want to do a progressive tax. This is literally Karl Marx's entire strategy. He's got 10 bullet points. These are like 7 out of 10. So am I supposed to not notice this? And then you can criticize, excuse me, I need some coffee. In this country, you can criticize America, you can criticize Trump, you can criticize the Democrats, you can criticize the Republicans, you can criticize any race, ethnicity, but you can't criticize communist China. What does that tell you? Everything that they don't want you to say. It means they have a lot of power, so much power and so much influence that you can't say anything about it. In another country like that, which I know my audience doesn't want to hear, but it's just true, is Israel. In America, you could criticize America easier than you can criticize Israel or China. Why is that? Because the left wing is working with communist China and the right wing passes speech laws for Israel and their Zionist agenda. This is not my opinion. This is not hate speech. I'm not even mad about it. I'm just telling you the truth. In your country, you can question everything except for 2 foreign countries, not because it's hate speech to say so, because they have a lot of power and influence over the country for multiple reasons. And that's just a fact. And it's not even particularly their country's fault. It's American politicians' fault for selling out your First Amendment and your country and your sovereignty for a foreign nation or for interests of some sort of money that they're getting or power. I don't know exactly why they're doing it, but this is not okay. So as Nashville officials are caught lying about the numbers being low, as you get censored or banned from questioning where the virus even came from in the first place, as they're censoring Chinese defectors who came here to the United States to tell what they saw, as they never share exactly what Luc Montagnier said. Luc Montagnier, you could Google it, is a French Nobel Prize winner. He won a Nobel Prize for discovering HIV, and he said in April, which I reported, the same thing that the woman who defected from China said. He said he believes it was man-manipulated, and he has proof in the genome, and he also thinks other things. You could read about it in India Times, and I believe one Jewish publication, the Jewish Voice or the Jewish Post, had posted that as well. Besides those 2 outlets, you're not going to see that story I just told you anywhere because no Western media posted it. They all covered it up. USA Today smeared it, and no one else even mentioned it. So these are the games that they play. You're not allowed to question them. You're not allowed to question where it came from. You're just supposed to submit, wear a mask, shut down your business, allow Amazon to swallow up all of these jobs that small businesses were doing okay with a few years ago, and you're just not even supposed to say anything about it as they're covering up how not dangerous it is to go to bars and restaurants in Nashville. This is not a thing. Sweden already proved it per capita. I'm not talking about in numbers. Per capita means how many people died per capita. Africa, they said it was gonna, oh my God, Africa. There's nothing, Africa's doing better than most of the Western world because they're probably either counting accurately or not fear-mongering about all this stuff. Guys, why is New York and New Jersey, both run by Democrats, why is their death per million at 1,882 and 1,705? If you take out those 2 states and Massachusetts, Connecticut, there is no crazy huge thing going on. It's mostly in these areas. And even in the Republican states, you have the Democrat areas are the ones with all of the deaths. I'm not saying people aren't dying, but I'm saying these people know exactly what Bill Gates wanted you to read, how to lie with statistics. When they go against their favor, they cover it up. For instance, it's not even debatable. I mean, we can debate because I'm not a communist, but it's really not debatable that children are dying at astronomical rates. It's not happening. That's not a thing. Everyone should have been able to agree from the left wing to the right wing to I'm afraid of this virus, so I'm not. Kids are doing astronomically well. So well, I mean, more kids probably drowned or do other things. This is not killing millions of kids or something. It's fine. We should have been able to agree on that. Let's try to get our kids back to school. Let's do this. Let's get them back to soccer practice. But we can't because half the country's gone fully insane, carrying water for communist China and then trying to fear-monger everybody. Your kid's going to do this, your kids. We can't go back to work till 2022. Our country is being destroyed from within. If you look up the words, and this is outside of the coronavirus, if you look up the words treason, and you look up the word sedition, and you look up the word insurrection, these are 3 things that are openly going on in our country. If this would have happened in the 1800s or the 1900s, people would have been immediately prosecuted in the streets because you can't insurrect. Insurrection is basically terrorism. Sedition, you could look up the definition of it, and treason is, pretty clear to most people, but you could look that up too. These are 3 things that were for hundreds of years in any country are just totally unacceptable. And it's not even being hidden anymore. People are openly sabotaging the economy, sabotaging people, lying, trying to violently have an uprising against the president because they don't like him. As they're justifying it, as they're bailing people out of jail, at a certain point, Trump is going to have to, Bill Barr, somebody in office that has the systemic power to do so, take the country back because our country is so, I don't even want to say infiltrated, but just so brainwashed from within that our biggest enemy is not even a foreign country, it's ourselves. Our media, our officials are so low that they're going to cover up good information that'll send us back to bars and restaurants, these people will shut down for 10 years. So I pray, and then I'm going to answer some questions. I pray that President Trump looks into this. I pray that he looks into the origin. I pray that he looks into how they counted cases and how they counted deaths and, who was doing what, because I just can't trust these people anymore, unfortunately. When they get good information, they cover it up. When they get bad information, they add to the bad and make it 10 times as bad. They don't do science. They just scream science as Facebook, Instagram, Google, Twitter, and other people work for multiple foreign nations over the interests of America, operating out of America. This is crazy stuff. No one would have been able to get away with this 50 years ago, even 30 years ago, even 10 years ago. This is wild levels of just complete country sabotage. And I'm not talking about questioning. I'm talking about the fact that they do whatever they want, and then they turn the tables on you if you even defend yourself. And this is what I'm writing my book on, these words that they do that for as well. They do that with the word racist. The people that are the most tribalistic, they're out there only supporting brands from their ethnicity, only looking out for their ethnicity, openly saying everywhere that they're looking out for their ethnicity. These are the ones that turn around and call everybody else racist. You don't see me out here only buying from a certain ethnicity or only running business for a certain ethnicity or only looking to pass laws for a certain ethnicity. I don't do that because I'm an American. I'm looking out for America. And to be quite honest, I'm looking out for everybody in the world, because if I tell my truth, and I tell the truth rather than my truth, because there's no such thing as my truth, if I tell the truth, it'll help everybody. So these games that they play, the people doing the most want you to do the least. So even though they're the ones that are tribal, they're the ones that are ethno first, they're the ones calling everybody racist. The same ones that are lying about science and saying, well, you can't question me. And then they're like, you're a tyrant. I allow you to disagree, but I'm not even allowed to post what the Nobel Prize winner who discovered HIV thinks. He's more credible than 99.9% of these experts on MSNBC and CNN. Who are these experts? What have they done? It's like telling Orville Wright, or whatever his name was, the Wright brothers, that they can't talk about planes. It's like telling Ford he can't talk about cars. It's like, what do you mean that they can't say that? Because you said that? Because you had a phony expert say that? No. The guy who discovered HIV and has a Nobel Prize said exactly what the Chinese defector said. He said he has proof in the genome that it was created somewhere, and this is not my opinion, and then they turn around and brainwash and deceive people into thinking critical thinking's bad, and any perspective, no matter how credible it is, outside of their communist agenda of controlling all information and controlling all things that people say and not allowing people to quit. This is not science. That's the opposite of science. This is communism. This is tyranny. And I pray that people wake up, because there's really only a few people in Washington that even somewhat care. And even the people that care, unfortunately, like I've explained before, they care for the things that they want to say, but then they don't care about things that they don't want their enemies to say. And you don't believe in free speech if you don't want other people to say certain things. So these are the games that are being played. The left wing is responsible for like 80% of the speech censorship, with all the social media corporations working hand in hand with communist China. And then you have your right wingers like Trump and all of the people in media that support him. Almost all of them support speech legislation when it has to come with, anti-Israel protests or anti-Semitism, which in my opinion, I've said many times, no disrespect, is not free speech. If you don't believe in free speech for the people you disagree with the most, you don't agree with it at all. And if you give up free speech for the people you don't want to hear, then you give it up for yourself. And that's what we're witnessing in this country. Two parties that don't care about free speech. They both pretend to. Actually, only the Republicans pretend to. The Democrats don't even care. They're definitely worse, but there's a reason that everyone's losing it. Is because there's really, unfortunately, not many people that are fighting for true free speech. The ones that do get banned on Amazon, get banned on Facebook, and if these people win, it's going to be a wild time. But I believe in God, I believe in the truth, and I believe that, we'll take care of it. But that's my thoughts. I'll answer some questions for a little bit. I appreciate you guys being here. God bless you. And I'll hang out for probably like an hour. I got energy today. Thank you, Stephanie. And if I don't see your question or comment, you could ask it again, because, it's a little bit of a delay on my cell phone. Someone said, funny how people believe billionaires care about the population. Some billionaires care, some don't. But this idea that, these people are rebelling against the system, oh, our activism is so anti-corporation, we hate the corporations. If Karl Marx's opinions are such a threat to the corporations, why are their banks spending billions of dollars on it? These banks, almost every bank, MasterCard, all of these corporations, the NBA, name 10 corporations that aren't supporting your activism and don't share the same ideology, except it's so obviously not anti-system. It's anti-America, and it's anti-President Trump. But we'll get to some questions. So I can't even talk about the virus because Facebook is communist, and they just don't allow any discussion. So I'll watch what I say. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate you. Is that a Ren Fair mug? I don't know what that means. It's an Alaska mug, so I just bought it in Alaska. I don't know. Shout out Alaska. Shout out bears. Bears are cool, and so is Alaska. How's Facebook been treating me recently? It's been fine. It's been good. I mean, I can't complain. God is great. Facebook's been cool. I just don't like how they're censoring other people. I have to watch everything I say because we don't have free speech in this country. So they've been okay to me, but they've not been okay to the world. They're very sneaky. What's my view on global coronavirus? I'm in the UK, and I believe what goes on in the US affects here. I mean, the people, like the World Health Organization, the CDC, all these people, Facebook, Twitter, they're not truly trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. They have a political agenda to push, and they've always done this. Through climate change, their agenda was not just to change the temperature of the climate. They were focusing on a global system that they control. It's communism. It's global communism. They're using these excuses. They're using environmentalism, some real, some fake, to push an agenda of control. And climate change was not moving the needle as much as it was before. So they had to, figure out a new way to gain power and control. So they play these games on loop. You can see now, if I would have said this in March, everyone would have yelled at me. But you can see now they're not interested in the data. They're covering up the data. They're completely baffled. You could find 5 articles that say scientists and experts are baffled by Africa because they thought coronavirus was a world tour. They were like, it's coming to Africa soon. Like it was like NSYNC on a world tour or something. It's like, it's not what you thought it was. They wanted it to go to Africa, and they wanted it to be all over the place so they could say, look, Africa got COVID-19 really bad. We told them they should have done this, they should have done that, they should have done this. But Africa didn't listen. A lot of places in Africa did not listen to them, and they're all doing fine. They're all doing better. The top 7 countries all locked down. There's no data anywhere in the world that shows not locking down is astronomically bad. And everybody's lying about it. Even Trump lied about it. And you know how much I like Trump. He said if we wouldn't have locked down, America would have been 10 times as bad like Sweden. Sweden's doing better than America. And even when he said that, I pointed out they were doing 2 times as bad. Now they're doing better. So there is no data, only these hallucinated graphs by the man, funded by the man, who told you to read this book. You don't have to. I could pretty much tell you the gist if you don't want to read it. How to Lie with Statistics. Why would the guy that has mainly engineered how we responded to the shutdown and funded most of the groups that we have to listen to, why did he tell you to read How to Lie with Statistics? So probably because he knows 99% of people don't read, so he can put it out there, no one will care, but he knows how to do it. I know how to do it. They all know how to do it. Every advertiser on the planet knows how to do it. So you should learn how to do it, or enough people should learn how to do it, because then we would have critical thinking in this country instead of a bunch of pseudo-intellectual Harvard graduates who can't even tie their own shoes or run a country or farm or run a city or stop crime or do anything of value. All they know is Marxist propaganda. We've been dumbed down, folks, but we're bringing it back. Someone said, that's another thing. You can't talk about that because they have their pharmacy interests in other companies. So they've made it impossible they'll lie about anything. They'll be like, Trump said to drink bleach. He never said that, but they'll lie about that, but you can't even speculate on proving it. It's such a joke, guys. It's so communist. All right. Biden's a joke. I'm not even going to talk about him. Someone said JP Sears is going after censorship. Maybe you can all do an anti-censorship rally. JP Sears is awesome. He's a great guy. I just saw him before I was live streaming. He was doing a live stream with Robert Kennedy on Instagram. JP Sears, funny guy. You could tell he gets it. I like him. Someone said, I have a friend in Florida and Texas. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, guys. I just don't want to say it because then they're going to... I'm going to read this real quick. Someone said, I don't think Trump is lying as much as he is basing his responses on the changing information given to him by his experts. Love your videos. Yeah, I mean, I for the most part agree. I mean, when he made mistakes, he was just getting bad intel. I agree. But even now, he's talking about, rushing this vaccine through safety trials and how great it is. It's like, I don't agree with it. I don't have to agree with it. I don't care where he's getting it from. He's the president. So, I give him credit when he does everything else, but then when he does things I don't agree with, I'm not hating him personally. I'm not blaming him for anything. I'm not crying and taking my sandbox somewhere else, but I don't agree. I don't agree with what he's been saying this entire time, including today, but I don't have to. That's the great part about America. And they still like me. His ex-campaign manager still posted my song with a Biden video. It's a good time. We have fun. They allow me to say the truth. Someone said, how are your friends doing? The Jewish and Arabic men in the video with me. I think you're talking about Nabil. I did the Muslim, Christian, Jewish live stream, historic. I'm not saying that we were the ones behind the peace deal, because we weren't. But if you recall, Anomaly, Christian, Andrew Meyer, Jewish, Nabil Aziz, Muslim. We did a live stream a month ago, and we had a Christian, a Muslim, and a Jew. And a month later, Arabic countries are getting along with Israel. I'm not taking responsibility for it. I'm just saying it happened. But they're doing great. I think Andrew's doing good. Nabil's doing good. You can follow them on Twitter. They're both honest and funny. I like them both. Do you think they'll try to cancel the debates in order to give Biden a push because Trump would eat him alive? Absolutely. If I'm Trump's campaign manager, I'm saying we'll debate Biden anywhere, anytime, any place. If I'm Biden's campaign manager, like TJ Duckworth or whatever that guy's name is, I'm saying we got to find a way not to debate. There's no way that his team wants to get on that stage. They're going to cry, say something happened, this, that, let's do it from the Zoom. There's no way Biden can stand on a debate stage. Trump is absolutely going to eat him alive. So yeah, I definitely think strategically, they're gonna try to figure out a way to sneak their way out of the debate. If not, it's one thing. But what sucks is that even Fox News is corrupted and co-opted. So everybody Trump's on a stage with, they're all probably gonna be biased. I have a hard time believing any of these debate hosts are gonna be fair and balanced. But it doesn't matter. Trump will still win. So yeah, I agree with you. I think he'll try to get out of it for sure. It would probably be smart strategically because there's no way Trump's not surging in the polls after a debate with Biden. Someone said, I don't agree with rushing the vaccine either. Here's my thing with Trump, because people get so emotional, just like people hate Trump, and they're like, I hate Trump, it's my whole life, it's in my profile. We're like, we get it, you hate Trump, it's your whole life, congratulations, you get an award. But, just like people are emotional, they hate Trump, people love Trump. So when you say one thing and disagree with them, people freak out. But I always say, Trump on his worst day is better than Biden on his best day. So even when I'm upset with what Trump said or I don't agree, his worst day is better than Biden's best day. His worst day is still okay, and Biden's best day is not okay. So, we got some problems. Someone said, I'm concerned with the Soros involved, the Fox News thing. Yeah, I don't know what that was all about. I saw that clip where someone said Soros, and she was like, let's not talk about that. But I'm going to be honest, if I can. Besides Tucker Carlson, there's a few good people on Fox, don't get me wrong. But Tucker Carlson is the real deal. Protect Tucker Carlson at all costs. When Tucker Carlson goes down, the entire network is useless. He's the last journalist or the last free speech true revolutionary journalists on television. Without Tucker, Fox is done. And Fox is already getting co-opted. Tell me why Donna Brazile, God bless her soul, she got fired or she left CNN and the DNC. She was too corrupt for the DNC and CNN, and Fox News hired her. So I don't watch Fox, I only like Tucker, but you know, there's something, that was creepy, huh? There's something going on there for sure, I think. You know, I don't trust it. Sorry, my computer was like scrolling itself. That was creepy. I gotta turn it off. But yeah. In general too, on the media, a lot of media is not what people think it is. I posted something earlier on my Twitter, and I'm gonna explain it real quick. I said, imagine you have a tree. Just bear with me. You have a tree and you want to cut the tree down. But the people who pretend to be cutting the tree down, they're really only picking the leaves off. So they're not really helping. They're just, why is this scrolling? Time out, sorry. I gotta my computer's creeping me out. It's like scrolling itself. I'm like, am I getting hacked or something? All right, let me try this again. Maybe it was just that website. But you know, a lot of people in media are these, what I call gatekeepers, where they say just enough that you want to hear. Lower the taxes, Trump, MAGA, and everyone's like, oh, MAGA. Or they're like, hey, conservative, and they're like, it's like the kid with the skateboard who just fits in, and you're like, how old are you? They do just enough to make you like them, but they're not really accomplishing anything. And this is where I really lost favor with, I really was disappointed with a lot of conservative thought leaders in this world. And people get mad at me, they email me, say, Anomaly, how dare you say this? But I'm just being honest. A lot of these people are like, if we're trying to get rid of a tree, you gotta lift it up from the roots. You gotta get to the core of the problem, the root of the problem. They just swipe at the leaves every day. So besides Tucker Carlson and sometimes like a Laura Ingraham, a lot of these Fox News hosts are just swiping at the leaves. They're just pretending like they're helping you. They're saying just enough that's exciting, but they're not really accomplishing anything. In fact, they're what I call gatekeepers, which are not only not doing it and saying what needs to be said, but they're stopping people from saying it. So there's a lot of icons that people love in the conservative movement that I don't like to talk negatively about because I'm a nice guy, but also people are so emotionally attached to these people. I love them. They're so great. But if you got to get rid of the tree, you got to get to the root. And they don't do that. They just slap at the leaves and pick a leaf off every day. Ilhan Omar, AOC, and you're like, yeah, Soros. But why is this happening? There's a reason that this is happening. There's a reason that you can't talk about Soros on Fox News, even though Fox News is right wing. And I've told people, and they don't want to hear it. They call me a name. Just like if you talk about China, now they say, you know, you're anti-Chinese. I love Chinese people. I love Chinese Americans. I love Chinese. But talking about the government of China has nothing to do with hating all Chinese people. This is a game that they've played to make you think that it's racist to call out the Chinese government. If you could call out the American government, why in the world would you not be able to call out the Chinese government? Because the Chinese government and China's connections to American people, such as the Faucis, the Gateses, and a lot of liberals, this is why you can't say it. But it's the same thing with the right wing. Why can't you talk about Soros on Fox News? What are they so worried about? There's a lot of reasons going on, but most of the right wing is very Zionist controlled and very Zionist power. So I made a joke and everybody yelled at me. They gave Netanyahu a key to the White House. And I made a joke. I said, he doesn't need a key to the White House. He already has one. They already control both parties. And it's true. Zionists and China have more power in America than America First politicians. So the reason you can't talk about Soros is because he falls under, not only does he have a lot of money, but he falls under the ethnicity that Republicans, not Democrats, Republicans are passing speech laws for. So when I explain this stuff, I say, guys, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm not racist, I believe in free speech. If you lose free speech for the people you hate, you lose it for yourself. So if you pass speech laws and speech regulations against Ilhan Omar, but you're really, did you read them? Did you go to the State Department website like I told you and read the anti-Semitism laws? They're not against Ilhan Omar. They're not for the average Jewish person. They're for the Soros types. So why are you not allowed to talk about it on Fox News now? I'm telling you, because it's not left-wingers. It's Republicans passing speech laws for people like Soros. Read the laws. It's not for your average person. Just like these Chinese laws are not for Chinese people, it's for China. It's for the powerful Chinese that have a lot of power and influence over the country. And the anti-Semitism laws are not for you or your family or any Jewish person who watches me. They're for Soros. They're for Zuckerberg. They're for Susan Wojcicki. They're for Zionists. They're for Israel. They're not for you. So when I say this, people falsely accuse me of being hateful. I'm not hateful. I'm just telling you what's going on in this country. You're losing free speech to two countries who clearly have more power over our country than other people because our politicians are more loyal to them than they are the people of this country. And it's really happening. And if you cared to understand and learn how it's happening and why it's happening, I could explain it. But the more I explain it, the more people say I'm hateful. Do I sound hateful? Do I sound like I'm angry? I'm just telling you what's going on. I don't know any other way to put it. The truth sounds hateful to people who hate the truth. I don't know how to spin it. What do you think about Michael Caputo putting his career on the line to tell us? I don't know who that is, but he sounds like somebody who's doing a lot, but I don't know who that is, sorry. Can you give a compile list of recommending reading on current levels? I mean, sheesh, maybe I'll put out a book list next month or something, but I don't know. Half the books I'm reading are so controversial, if I put them out, they'd call me a hater or something. So this is 1984 style. Someone said you do a great job of walking a fine line. I think so too. Someone just mentioned the Rockefeller, Bill Gates. You know, there's a way to get you from stopping to talk about everybody. If you talk about China, now they're passing law. They're trying to pass stuff in Congress to say that you're anti-Chinese. It's not for Chinese people, it's for China. They say you're anti-Semitic if you talk about literally most people who run most media companies. Do you hate Jewish people? No, you're just trying to talk about something you disagree with, but those laws are not for Jewish people. They're to stop you from talking. And someone talked about Bill Gates. Bill Gates is not Chinese, and as far as I know, he's not Jewish. So how does Bill Gates, avoid pressure since he's not in one of those groups? He gives hundreds of millions of dollars to media companies. So there's a way for everything. It's like, how come you can't question Bill Gates, but you can question Donald Trump and Elon Musk? Elon Musk is more credible in science than Bill Gates is. How come he could be questioned? Because Elon Musk doesn't go around and give hundreds of millions of dollars to all the media companies. So the point I'm getting to is there's a reason this stuff happens. It's not random. It's not like, oh, everyone just decided to never question him. If you get hundreds of millions of dollars and give it out to all these media companies, I'm sure they would not question me either. So there is no hate speech. It's a made-up term for people who hate the truth. It's a made-up term to socially engineer society to move the Overton window for acceptable conversation. And that's what I'm doing with my new book. It's not out yet, but I'm writing it, is I'm gonna move the Overton window back because this is the problem with a lot of conservatives. They claim that they're fighting you, but they're telling you they're taking a tree down when they're just hitting at the leaf, and they're allowing the Overton window to move left and out of control. And then they act surprised every day on Twitter, like, I can't believe it, I'm shocked. How many conservatives every day? I can't believe it, I can't. How shocked could you possibly be? This has been happening for 3 years, maybe 50 years. But it's like, you're shocked every day. I could get annoyed. I could get upset because I'm a human. But I can't say I'm surprised. Why would you be surprised? So if they're constantly, perpetually surprised, they're probably just milking you for clicks and money. Because at a certain point, you got to stop being surprised and identify what's going on and then stop it. But this is what they don't do. They don't truly identify what's going on. They don't really stop it. So how much are they really helping us? It's not a competition, but that's what my book's going to be about, is moving the Overton window back to a place where critical thinking is allowed, back to a place where equality of conversation is allowed. If you could talk about my ethnicity, I could talk about your ethnicity. If you could talk about my religion, I could talk about your religion. I should be able to talk about anything I want, but I can't, not because I'm hateful, not because it's not true. It is true. It's not hateful, but they've moved the Overton window with speech laws, speech regulations, and social engineering to believe that certain events cannot be questioned and other events have to be everything. You can't talk about slavery in Libya or China, but you could talk about slavery from 300 years ago. But you can't really talk about slavery from 300 years ago, because if you tell the truth about it, they're going to ban your book on Amazon because they only want to frame it in a certain way. It's all control games, but I'm on it. I'm not going to get kicked off, so you don't have to worry about it. But if I do, I don't know, sign up to my free email list, stayintouchwithme.com. Do I think the left is behind the fires to get people to vote by mail? No, I don't. I think it has nothing to do with the voting by mail thing. I think it has everything to do with bad policies and mismanaging the force. And also, you have to understand, when you watch somebody light a police precinct on fire, I don't believe in violence. I don't believe in terrorism. I would never justify this. If somebody right-wing did what the left is doing, I would condemn it immediately. I don't care what right-wing group, if you go shoot somebody with a paintball gun or something, you deserve to be arrested. That's terrorism, in my opinion. Even if you agree with my politics, you're inciting violence for a political agenda. These people should be charged. So the point I'm getting to is, when you see people light precincts on fire, when you see people light a business on fire, when you see people light a car dealership on fire, you have to understand this type of evil exists in this country, and the media is making excuses for it. So when forests have been mismanaged and you have psychopaths that are purposely lighting fires for a political agenda, I think it has a lot more to do with that than it has to do with vote-in mailing or even climate change. I think that's the root of it, but they make it so you can't talk about it. And that's one of the words in my book. I'm going to explain this as well, how they've manipulated real science to say that what they're doing is acceptable, and any question, speculation, or fact that you say is out of control. They're very smart. They're very evil geniuses. Every way, science, they have a way to shut you down. So I think it has more to do with that than mail-in ballots, but they're definitely sneaking around with the mail-in ballots, but I don't know that the fires have anything to do with that. Appreciate y'all guys for hanging out too. I got some energy, so I'll stay here. I'm having fun. Thank you. Someone said, that's why I like when Trump said he would rather put his own money towards his campaign rather than take money from those only who give it with strings attached. He doesn't owe anyone anything. I agree with you, Gina. I think that's why Trump is so free, because he's the least sold out politician. But I also want to make people aware of, on the right wing, just like George Soros donates a lot of money to the left wing, Sheldon Adelson donates a lot of money to the GOP. I don't know to Trump specifically, but to Republicans. And Sheldon Adelson does have an agenda. And Trump gave his wife a Presidential Medal of Freedom. So just like the left, has some donors, so does the right wing. Trump himself is more free than anybody in the Republican Party, no question, because he doesn't really care. He'll make deals. He understands who's rich and powerful, but Trump is for sure the most free. But I think a lot of Republicans don't know what I just said, that there are Republican donors similar to a Soros, maybe not quite as wicked and all over the place, but there are agendas going on in the right wing, and you don't know about them because besides me, no right-wing people talk about them. And if you do talk about them, all the people who talk about what I just talked about, they don't exist on YouTube anymore. They make sure, the Shapiros and the Kirks make sure to blacklist and silence and censor and destroy pretty much anyone who talks about this. And people get mad at me and email me, Anomaly, how dare you talk bad about them? I'm not talking bad about them. I think Ben Shapiro is fantastic. I think Charlie Kirk is amazing. But this is what they do. This is why you don't know any of this stuff, because there's, just like on the left wing, you can't question certain things. It's the same with the right wing. You just don't know about it because none of these people talk about it, because they're either not allowed to talk about it, or they work together to censor, blacklist, silence, and smear anybody who says it. And how do they do it? The same way the left wing does it, by calling you a racist or an anti-Semite instead of intellectually discussing what you say. And they're all in on it. Even Crenshaw. All of these new heroes, they're all in on it. They're working to gatekeep and destroy anybody who explains this stuff. Even if you say it as simply as, hey, I believe in the First Amendment more than the anti-BDS laws, they'll call you an anti-Semite. Just watch. You'll figure it out eventually. But If Trump wins, do you think there'll be a good chance of a civil war? I mean, I don't know. I would say just be prepared for some weird stuff. But I think Barr and Trump understand, or they should understand, what's going on. I think Barr, if anybody, he's working on it. I think he understands just as much as I do. So he's the Attorney General. They have to charge terrorists. If a right-winger attacks somebody because of politics, that's terrorism. Charge them. If a left-winger attacks somebody or a building, charge them. Just charge all these people. They're never going to stop. There is no, well, let's just charge all these people that are committing crimes, serious violent crimes, and then this will all go away. But if they let these people linger, it'll keep happening. Someone said Ben's moving to Tennessee. Yeah, it's a fantastic move. God bless Ben and the Daily Wire staff. I wish them success in their new Republican state. I think it was probably a smart move, you know? I mean, where he lived in Los Angeles, or where his studio was, it's just, Los Angeles is just going to hell. So I don't blame him. So, you know, good luck to him and the staff for moving. I have no problems with him personally. I like him. I think his stance on the First Amendment is very weak, and as a conservative, it needs to be challenged. And it's hard to challenge it when everybody who does challenge it gets blacklisted, censored, silenced, and called an anti-Semite. It becomes very difficult to do. So that's my, you know, that's my problem. It has nothing to do with anything else. No, Trump and Barr know what's going on. They have to know. I can't imagine it. I just found out who you are through my husband. Well, God bless you and your husband. I appreciate you. Someone said Gates has tasted power and it's gone to his head. The problem with this, and we'll see what Trump and Barr do, but this is my one concern. Not even concern. Let's just say this. This is my one message to Trump supporters. Trump, whether he knows it or not, or Barr, whether they know it or not, maybe it's hard to do, maybe it's not, but they need to hold some of these people accountable for the things that they've done. They need to prosecute, just like with the terrorists in the street. If people are burning federal buildings and destroying and blocking traffic and attacking cop cars and you let them do it, they're going to keep doing it. You have to stop them. It's the same with these higher level criminals. When people are doing stuff that's so evil and so messed up and so tyrannical, and we've seen it happen time and time again, even against the president, for the people who, you know, tried to pretty much coup him. If you don't hold them accountable, it's never going to stop. So when, you know, when our country gets shut down and we can't even talk about the virus and every tech company is working against us and communist China seems to have more influence or more favor in our own media, something needs to be done about this. If this just gets brushed to the side, we just keep losing. So, you know, I understand what you guys are saying, and I hear what you're saying, but it's like, man, something, it's not like I want it to happen. It has to happen or they're never going to stop. Every major event, from Vegas, 9/11, COVID-19, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I'm just saying none of it ever makes sense. Even if you take 9/11 at face value, take it at face value. So, you know, they crashed into the towers. Most of them were from Saudi Arabia. So we went to Iraq and Syria and then Libya. This has nothing to do with even what they told you it had to do. It's not a conspiracy. This is what happened. We went to a totally different country and killed a totally different leader who had nothing to do with bin Laden or Al-Qaeda. What is that? So nothing ever gets done properly. And, you know, if nothing ever gets done, it's never going to stop. Once you can do that, something as crazy as that and that and that, these people, of course, they're power hungry because they've seen they can literally walk all over the United States of America and no one seems to have the power or the interest to stop them. So, you know, something has to be done on some level, just like on a lower level. If people are burning buildings and you don't stop them, they're going to keep burning buildings. I mean, until they get tired or something. So, someone said, I think Tucker's in danger for the truth. Well, he's fine. Don't, you know, pray for him and show him love, but don't say danger, danger, this is bad. These are bad words. These are bad, you know, energies to give somebody. You don't throw fear on somebody and tell them you're helping. This is the thing a lot of people don't understand. If you're a brave person like Tucker Carlson and you do your job, he doesn't need your fear. I don't want your fear. No one wants your fear. Keep it to yourself and get rid of it. Like, it's like, Don't be afraid for Tucker and think you're helping. You're not helping. You're projecting that into the world. You're telling the wicked people of the world, I'm afraid of you. When everybody's afraid of the wickedness in the world, it becomes more wicked. So you're not helping, you're actually hurting. So if you want to show Tucker love, show him strength. Say, he's got this. He's better than them. He's realer than them. His ratings are doing good. Don't throw fear at him. Don't throw fear into the world. And then, act like it's somehow helping anybody. That's why these people get away with it, because everyone's so afraid. And then when people are brave, instead of helping them, people just throw fear onto them. It's like riding a bike and jumping on the back. Like, you're just dragging people down. You got to kick the fear, but if you have it, you got to keep it to yourself. Don't throw it on Tucker or someone else. Someone said, show the Communist Manifesto. It's on my kitchen table. I don't have it right now, so I don't have it. I don't have it on me. It's over there. I don't feel like grabbing it. Someone said, oh, fake news is after Tucker. Yeah, but this is how the world works. I get it. I understand that they're attacking, but it's like, I don't know. To each their own, but it's like, danger, Trump's in danger. Like, to me, that's just manifesting in the world. Like, I'm afraid, he's in trouble. Like, no, they're in trouble. You got to flip the script. They're in trouble. The devil's in trouble. Evil's in trouble. They're panicking. They can't sleep at night. You don't want to burden your heroes and burden people who are brave. It's not going to help. Do I think Barr and Trump are holding a pattern till the election? I can't really tell you what they're doing, to be honest, but I pray that they have a plan. I think he has a plan, but he knows how evil they are for sure. We'll see. Someone said, speak positivity into existence, not evilness and confusion. The Bible says so. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that, because a lot of people say, like, anomaly, watch yourself, watch your back. That's my pet peeve. I've explained it before, but I'm not worried. You shouldn't be worried in the first place, but it's like when all of society shuts down and you can't even open your business, it's time to stop being afraid. There's no penalty to being a coward. It's actually worse. Like, I'm fine. I'm great. Tucker's great. Tucker has done so much for this country. He's more protected than most people. So this idea that people have that being afraid and putting fear onto people is somehow helpful, it's really not. It's like your cowardice jumping onto me. Like, I don't want it. You got to get rid of it. That's a personal issue. So people mistake that. It's the same with the Clinton stuff. Like, people always say, she's doing this, she's doing that. You're really manifesting it. You're saying, I'm weak, I'm afraid, she's going to do something bad, and everybody who tells the truth is going to get hurt. It's so counterproductive. It's so gross, but people think that for somehow is helpful. But this is why our country, when it shuts down, how many people really stood up against the government? You had Ian Smith, the gym owner from New Jersey. You had Bradley Martin or whatever his name, gym owner from California. The one pastor from California, Shelley Luther from Texas. How many people did you have stand up to these people? Like 5 out of 300 million? All these strong patriots and conservatives, you had 5 people stand up to. This is why nothing gets done, because everybody's a coward. It's like, guys, there's no reward for a coward. You lose in the end. You don't win. There is no like, well, I'm going to play it safe. There is no safe. There's no such thing. It's like slowly whittling down to nothing. We can't have fear. It's the biggest problem. It's not the enemy that'll destroy you. Sometimes it's somebody in your own circle, somebody close to you that you shouldn't have trusted, rather than the people you hate the most. And it's the same with mindset. I have on my wall, it's a Buddha quote, but it says your own worst enemy can't harm you as much as your unguarded thoughts, saying your mindset will destroy you worse than your own worst enemy. I truly believe that, but I try to stand up for other people too, because I Tucker's doing a lot of stuff. He doesn't need all this. Someone said, I'm trying so hard not to be afraid. Well, the fear, there's no really intrinsic value to fear. The only value to fear is if there's a boulder dropping on your head and you're like, oh snap, and then it inspires you to run. So it's like if you're somewhere you don't want to be and you're afraid, go somewhere that you're not afraid. And that, there's only so much value to fear. Besides that, it just destroys your life. It destroys your mentality. It makes your day miserable. And it also helps the people you hate the most. Because if everybody in this country wasn't afraid, this all never would have happened. How did the COVID lockdown get through us? How did it get to me? How did it get to you? How did it fool everybody? Through fear. They made everybody afraid. Fear is the most powerful tool of the devil. Make everybody afraid, and then you're irrational and you'll do anything. You'll give up your constitution because you're afraid. So it's tough, I understand. It's very frustrating times, but just don't be afraid, It's how they get away with what they get away with. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to be mean. Just being honest. Someone said that's how they infringe on most people's rights, for sure. Someone said, is Trump pushing the vaccine? Will it be choice or mandatory? Trump is pushing the vaccine. He's rushing the vaccine, and he's deeming anybody who doesn't like the vaccine an anti-vaxxer. So I don't know what Trump's doing. Unfortunately, people are so obsessed with Trump, they think it's like a 3D chess move. No, Trump is using the words of the oppressor. He's using a word that means if you don't want a rushed vaccine, you're an anti-vaxxer. I don't know what Trump's doing. I completely disagree with it. He's not going to make it mandatory, but at the same time, it's not up to him. So in California and certain liberal states, he's not going to have that much power. Did he come and open your gym? No. Did he come and take your mask off? No. Did he allow your business to open? No. So how is he going to be able to stop them from doing mandatory vaccines? He's not, just like he wasn't able to stop any of these Democrat states from doing what they did. So the people that say, well, he doesn't want it to be mandatory, it's not up to him, just like this whole shutdown wasn't really up to him. But, I think we'll see what happens. But I don't agree at all with what he's doing. And he's moved the Overton window. This is how these people win. Now the Overton window is we need a vaccine to go back to normal. So Trump rushes the vaccine, and then they move the goalposts again. You can't play the game of the devil. You can't try to please somebody that isn't pleasable. You can't shut down so they don't blame you. They're still going to blame you. So Trump is doing all this rushed vaccine to go back to normal. Who says we need a vaccine to go back to normal? They said that. You played their game. You do it. Then they move the goalpost because that was never a real goalpost. You can't be a liar because they're lying. You can't play this game of, well, they did this, so I'm going to do this. Just tell the truth. Just stand firm and say, we don't need this. Sweden's doing better. Sweden didn't need this, but that's what Trump is not doing. People get mad when I say this, but not only did Trump not say Sweden's doing a good job, Trump for months said Sweden was a nightmare when he was wrong. I called it out in March and April. So how is he helping us get our freedom when he's rushing a vaccine faster than Democrats and telling us the one country that didn't lock down is really bad, worse than him? It's not helping. This is the problem. Is he better than Biden? For sure. Does he have a plan? Hopefully, but at a certain point, you have to be the plan. For sure he wants to win the election. For sure he has a plan, but his plan might not be your plan. And at a certain point, if I'm not allowed to go to a church, but I'm allowed to go to a casino, this is a problem. This country is being demoralized, and this country is being taken over. And I know how it's being taken over and why it's being taken over. And I also know that no party is willing to combat it. If you combat it on the left, they have 5 words to call you. And if you combat it on the right, they call you 2 words. So all these other, Trump is Trump. I appreciate him. But all these other right-wing, news hosts, to me, besides Tucker and a few others, they're all gatekeepers. They're all saying just enough to reel you in, but not allowing anybody to go even deeper. And our country is being demoralized purposely. This is not a mistake. This is not random. This is a concerted effort. You could say it's by the devil, or you could, go lower down the pyramid and pick out certain groups and certain people, certain organizations and such that have a lot of influence. But this is very clear to me, and I know why it's happening, and I know that I'm not allowed to say why it's happening in either party. So how are you going to get free from this? You're not. When your leader of freedom is fast-tracking a vaccine and says that the one free country in Europe, did a bad job, how is that helpful? It's not. It's just not. But You know, I can only do so much, and he's going to do so much, and we'll see what happens. I'm sure he is doing it to get votes, but at a certain point, the American people are going to have to demand truth and justice, and enough people are going to have to care. If you have the left wing gone fully insane because they hate Trump, what's the point? There's nothing over there. And then the right wing, 90% are just waiting for Trump and Barr to do something. They might never do something. You might have to demand it from Barr and Trump. You know, I think everybody's waiting for the election, but if he wins the election, people need to get on his you-know-what, Trump and Barr, and be like, bro, you guys have 4 years now. Please do something. You have, not please do something, you have to do something, because that's going to get it done. We can't play this game of like everybody just waiting in the shadows. Like, Republicans had 2 years with the Senate and the House. They did nothing. I mean, Trump got judges in and Trump did a few things, but as far as Mitch McConnell and the merry band of Republicans, what significant things did they pass through? I can't recall very many, you know? We'll see, but I would love to see people not be so complacent, not just talk about AOC all the time. We need to get stuff done if/when he wins. Someone said, anomaly on vaccine, you're full of BS, been loyal but enough. Larry, first of all, you didn't spell it right, and I don't care. I'm not going to make fun of someone's spelling, but if you're going to get mad at me, at least spell it right. Second of all, this is the problem. Now, because Trump likes the vaccine, it's anti-vax to suggest they're fast-tracking a vaccine through safety trials. They had to slow down the AstraZeneca one because some guy had spinal damage. So you don't want to rush a vaccine. Usually they take years to do this, and COVID is not this astronomically deadly disease that's killing millions upon millions of people in America. We should be able to go back to normal tomorrow. So Trump's fast-tracking a vaccine. Have fun getting it, all pass, but they're going to try to mandate it in a lot of liberal areas. They're probably going to try to mandate this type of stuff on airplanes and such, and Trump is doing nothing to stop them. So I don't care. I don't want a rushed vaccine. If you're going to cry and be a super pro-rushed vaccine person because Trump rushed it, I don't care if Bill Gates did it. I don't care if Trump did it, the military did it. I am skeptical anyway, let alone of one that got rushed through safety trials. You know how long they usually study vaccines? Sometimes they study it for years, 5 years, 10 years, and sometimes they study it for 15 years, and it doesn't work after 15 years. So just because you like President Trump, you're like, oh, he needs to rush it through in 6 months? This is insane. Or under a year? This is not an accomplishment. He's acting like it's an accomplishment, and this is the two-party game. It's like, well, I think it's so. If Biden rushed a vaccine, would you be super pumped about it? I don't care who does it. It's too fast. There's zero chance of studying a long-term effect. They can't study long-term effects. So it's not, I'd rather get coronavirus 10 times than get a vaccine that's not tested for long-term effects, because you can't test it for long-term effects. That, to me, when someone in the trial got spinal damage, it's crazy. It's like, go ahead, unfollow me. Who cares? I saw Rebecca. Rebecca, I wanted to let you know, I sent out all, for the supporters only, like Danielle and all the people who won a free shirt at the supporters only live stream last month. I sent out all the shirts except for yours, Rebecca, because I had forgot it at home. So I'm going to go back to the post office tomorrow or the next day to send yours out. Everybody else's shirt got sent out though. So I'm glad I saw that, because I wanted to let you know that your shirt's coming soon. But everyone else's is in the mail. And I didn't mean to do that. I just left it at home. So I got yours signed, and I'm going back to the post office soon. Just letting you know, because I saw that. I'm going to read this. Jonathan's on it. Jonathan said, the Republic is by and for the people, meaning it's our job to keep it for the people. We got to get up off our lazy butts and get involved in the process. God bless us all. I think so, Jonathan. I appreciate that. And even when I talk about other countries, whether I talk about China or Israel, I'm not knocking these countries. It's China's job to look out for China. It's Israel's job to look out for Israel. It's okay to collaborate with China or Israel. That's fine. But it's not their fault. It's our fault. Nancy Pelosi is not working for China, and she shouldn't be working for Israel. She can collaborate with them, but she should be an American politician. But the amount of American politicians working for the interests of the American people are few and far between. The closest thing we've had is Trump. He's the one that goes harder than anybody. That's why everybody likes him. So it's like, it's not their fault. It's not other countries' fault. It's your fault. If somebody does something to your church, it's your fault. If you allow them to shut it down for 4 months, why? There's too much cowardice, or at least too much piggybacking. Like, everybody wants to ride on Trump's coattails, which is fine. I like him. He's a powerful leader. If you're busy, you're busy. Maybe you're not in politics. But at the same time, the reason these people have been able to get away with murder and much more is that no one pays attention, no one cares, and then the country gets shut down and everybody just goes dum-dum. It's like, if you don't even care when your country got shut down, we are so brainwashed. We're so dumbed down and weakened. If you would have shut down the government when John Adams was there, or Thomas Jefferson, or Manning John, any of these people, any group of Americans in modern history besides now, all the men would have been out in the streets. Everybody would have been like, we need to get our country back. But it's 2020. We've lost a lot of freedom in this country. We're losing the means of communication to people who believe in communism, and everybody's making excuses for Trump fast-tracking a vaccine. This is how you lose everything. I like Trump. I'm going to vote for him. But we, the people, need to demand justice. We, the people, need it. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt until the election because I understand he wants to win it, and so does Bill Barr. But after the election, we have to hold them accountable. I can't sit and watch another 4 years of too many conservatives just being like, let's just wait. Let's just wait. There is no waiting. You lose your free speech for them, you lose it for everything. You want to lose it because you hate what Ilhan Omar said, you're going to lose it for yourself. Well, I can't talk about George Soros. You can't talk about Soros because you sold out free speech for yourself. Republicans did that. The Crenshaws, the Cruzes, the Trumps, the DeSantises, they're all in on it. They're all anti-First Amendment when it comes to their Zionist agenda of supporting Israel. So if you don't believe in the First Amendment for the people you hate the most, you don't get it. It's not a coincidence this is all happening. Both parties sold us out. I like Trump. I like Republicans better. I think Republicans can run a town and keep a power grid on, and Democrats are virtually useless. They think, crying about defunding the police is important and critical race theory. There's nothing they can do for me. They're incapable, incompetent. They can't run a city. So I'm going to vote all Republican. But we the people have to demand that they get something done if/when they win. We can't just sit in the sidelines and be like, let's see what happens. Like, it's already gone too far. 99% of Republicans to say to Trump, bro, I don't care what you're doing with the trials. Give us our freedom back, and then you could work on it. But rushing it is not necessarily this virtuous act. It's like, that's my biggest nightmare, is rushing a vaccine through safety trials. They need more safety testing, and they need more accurate safety testing. They don't need less testing because Trump said less testing. This is ridiculous. It's like, let's make a pill and just put it on the market before we fully... No, you can't possibly test it for long-term effects. This is terrible. So these are the two options, we're getting duped. We need to demand better. And Trump is the perfect vehicle for that. The best thing about Trump is he listens more than any other politician, and he's got his hands tied in some categories. So if you help Trump, he'll listen. Biden wouldn't listen. Biden can't even hear, probably. But maybe he could hear, but he's not listening. Obama's not going to listen to you. Bush wasn't listening to you. Trump listens. Use the next 4 years, if he wins, as a vehicle to get stuff done, as opposed to like attack everybody who questions him or attack... No, we need to. And he actually listens. They don't get mad at me when I say this stuff. Some of the people do in media, but most of the people around Trump are like, I mean, he's not lying. Sorry, I need some. Someone said our stats do not support it. We don't. We definitely don't. And I think if you want to ask me, I think they're trying to rush it because they realize if they wait too long, people aren't going to need it. Look at Sweden. Does Sweden need a coronavirus vaccine? No, look at their data. They're barely having any more deaths. They've almost completely gotten over it. It's not a big deal in Sweden. So they're rushing it so they can make money, probably. I'm not for sure, but it's like, why do they need to rush it so fast? There are no numbers proving that this is like so necessary. They've been jacking them up, lying about it, covering up good data about how being indoors is better. They want to make money. They want power. We don't need it that rushed, but they need it rushed, because if they don't rush it, in 3 years, you might find out you don't even need it anymore. And I'll tell you what, It's in the book that Bill Gates said to read. And if Luc Montagnier is right about the COVID-19, I'm not going to say it because they'll delete my video, but go look what Luc Montagnier said. He said because of how it was generated, it's going to fall apart in a few years and it's not going to be a thing. So if they rush this through and then they give it to everybody and then it disappears, they're going to say, oh, look, we got rid of it. When in reality, it might have gotten rid of itself, either through herd immunity or being a manipulated genome that eventually falls back into nature. I am not saying this. I'm not qualified to say this. I'm saying the guy who discovered HIV, who has a Nobel Prize, he said this in April. He said he studied the genome. He said it's not going to last very long. So they're probably rushing this through trials so they could get it out and pump it into people, regardless of what's going on, and then say that they solved it. Because if they wait 2 years, it's probably not going to be here. So that's a possibility. I'm not saying for sure, but you're not even allowed to talk to possibilities. This is a communist country that we live under. Republican president, and we're still living under a semi-communist regime where you're not allowed to question two foreign nations that aren't America. You're allowed to question America and siege the White House, but you're not allowed to question two foreign countries. This is a country we live in. This isn't okay. I don't care who's president. Biden, Trump, Bill Barr, they need to do something about it. Today, tomorrow, after the election, at some point, because this is not sustainable. Someone said, I'm also getting impatient. Well, here's the thing about the Q stuff. They've been saying for 3 years it's coming tomorrow. Maybe it's going to come tomorrow. Maybe it's going to come before the election, but you've got to be lying to me if you think it's okay 2 months before an election. No one's been held accountable for anything, and the election's about to happen, and it might not even happen properly. Nobody in their right mind thinks this is okay. So after the election, people have to stop playing these games of like, let's wait. We need to demand justice, because if we don't get it, you're going to see what happens now. Shutting down of society, closing of churches. This is the devil, folks. This isn't science. Science says that you can get on an airplane with 300 people, but you can't pray with 10 people inside. It's not science. Science says that Nashville officials can cover up the data when it looks good because they don't want people to think it's actually okay to go indoors. That's not science. That's tyranny, folks. This is communism and tyranny. It's not science. Science is questioning. Science is looking at the data and understanding there's not a single country doing worse than the 7 worst countries that all had lockdowns. Where's the country with no lockdown that has bigger death rates? New York and New Jersey, both locked down, had bigger death rates than any country. The top 7, there is no country that didn't lock down that has these deaths. It's all a hallucination of the fake data. They put a bunch of dots in there like, well, this is, and then they put a big chart. It never happened. It's only in their mind that happened, because it never was going to happen, because it was always a lie to begin with. And it's not, I keep holding this up because they're going to say, oh, anomaly, you can't say that. Bill Gates himself told people to read this book. It's all in this book. It says even on the back, if you want to outsmart a crook, learn his tricks. And who's on the front? Bill Gates. Look it. Leave me alone, Facebook. It's your buddy Bill Gates. I'll read it for you. A great introduction to the use of statistics and a great refresher for anybody who's well versed in it. On the back, if you want to outsmart a crook, learn his tricks. I've already known a lot of this stuff just because I have basic common sense, but I've learned even more because it's filled with great knowledge. It's from the 50s about how they lie with statistics, how it's... Let's answer another question. I don't want to work myself up. Let me take a sip. Appreciate you, Matt. Thank you. I appreciate it. And if you want, guys, I'm not saying you have to, but you can't really see it's backwards. You see, it looks like that. This is the stitching on the inside, but God bless hats. Some of the nice, what is this? I got to get that fuzz out of here. Sorry. Got a hair on there too, but these are some of the nicest hats I've ever owned. Made in America. God bless hats. I want to show you what a cheap hat looks like. This is a cheap hat. No disrespect. Look at this. That's a cheap hat. What is this? I bought this for $5 in Alaska. I love Alaska, but that's a cheap hat. It's not a cheap hat. You see what I'm saying? It's got bulk. It's thick. It's like a thick woman. GodBlessHats.com or DreamRare.com. Get yourself a hat. You don't have to, but if you do, it's a good time. Everybody seems to love it. Do I think Trump's hands were tied about Fauci being on the task force? I don't know. This is the thing. I can't tell you why he's doing what he's doing. That's not my job. His job is to run the country, and I respect him for it. My job is to tell the truth. My job is to look at the facts and the data and give people real information and show people what other media is not showing them. So that's really why I even started doing this. Someone said, I love my hat. Appreciate it. Everybody seems to love it. But, I started doing this because I saw how much the media was lying. So not only, I'm not really a journalist, but I'm doing real reporting that real journalists should be doing because I'm an American citizen who cares. I'm not even I don't even want to specifically do this. I like it, but I do this because I felt like I had to. And now I'm just like, no one else is doing it, so I do it. It's like, something's happening in the community, like, I'll do it. I'll do it. You're not going to do it, I'll do it. That's why I even do this. So in general, I don't know what Trump's doing. I don't know why he did what he did with Fauci, but when he's in the White House, he has a whole different way that he has to operate, and I respect it. Me, I'm not there next to Fauci, so I don't have to kiss his ass or do whatever. I don't know who's doing what, who owns what, or who's doing who fell for what. I don't know. I'm just here to tell you what's going on, and hopefully he or somebody around him listens and adapts. I don't know. Someone says, it seems like the Democrats have become a socialist hate group. Do you concur? Yeah, the thing about socialism, too, is like, if you look at what socialists do, it's really just communism. And I'm not here to smear people. I'm not like, oh my God, everybody's a communist. But if you, like I did, read the Communist Manifesto, what Bernie Sanders wants to do is communist. I guarantee you, if you were in a room with Bernie Sanders and said, do you believe in communism? He believes in communism. He's just not going to tell people he believes in communism because it's not popular. Millions of people got killed by communism. Millions of people escaped communism. It's always been tyrannical because it gives all the money, all the means of communication, and all transport to the state. So if you centralize power, it always ends up tyrannical. Some of the best renaissances and regimes have been when the people had freedom, when you don't centralize power. More freedom, more innovation. More freedom, better, more wealth for everybody. Less freedom, no freedom, you're screwed. So socialism is essentially, Bernie's not a democratic socialist. Get him in a room by himself. Be like, Bernie, what do you think about Karl Marx? He'd be like, oh no, he's a communist. He's just not going to say that because it's not popular to say. So the Democrats are now, they're flopping between the new age Democrats and progressives are communists and they believe in communism, and it's becoming more and more apparent, many of them out in the open. And the old Democrat power, they're trying to finesse like, we don't want to disband the police. They're caught between, just power by any means to, fully doing that. But I think if you read a lot of their playbooks in history, these Democrats like the Hillarys and the Pelosi's and the Schumers, they're like two-faced. If America wants Christianity, they're pro-Christian. If America's burning churches, they don't care. They're going to wait 5 months before they condemn it, or 3 months. So I think these are the type of people, the Pelosi's, the Hillarys and such, they'll do anything for power. But this is where I think progressives and the socialists don't understand. They think they're a threat to the corporations. The communists, the socialists, they think they're threatening the banks and the corporations. All the corporations are behind you. They're only trying to get enough votes because with just communist and socialist votes, you can't win an election. The Pelosi's and the Bidens are trying to get your vote by giving you most of what you want and give the regular people their vote for most of the moderate Democrats. But the progressive socialist mindset is not a threat to Pelosi. They think that Pelosi and Biden are secretly not progressives. Progressivism is socialism. Socialism is essentially communism. Higher taxes on people and more control of communication and the banks in the hands of the government. So they're playing both sides, but the progressive needs to wake up because they think they're challenging the system, but their ideology is a dream of a tyrant. Communism by design and socialism by design, these are not things. I mean, socialism, if you had a country that actually ran properly, you could maybe get away with socialism, like they're trying to do it with certain things here, but you would need a country that actually liked itself. I mean, you can't have a country that everybody hates themselves. They're having all this sort of social problems. People don't hire people based off the content of their character. They discriminate by skin color. Most of the people who are socialists and communists aren't, they don't even like their country. How can you be a socialist and a communist and not like your country? It's like being a family's communist. We'll all share stuff. If you hate your family and you're sharing everything, it doesn't work. You gotta love yourself. So it's unfortunate that they've skewed the political arena so much where it's like they call right-wingers fascists when it's the furthest thing from fascism, and then the left-wingers want to be like communists who hate their own country. I don't know. It's quite the debacle. Someone said if Trump wins, Pelosi might retire. Probably. I'm going to read this. Someone said, Marxist, communist, leftist, socialist, progressives, globalists, all different names from the same multi-headed monster. And at the end of the day, people just got to get back to the basics. Like, all right, let's drop all the labels for a second. Left and right and blah, 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 Republican, Trump. What's true? What's false? What's right? What's wrong? Are you even trying to get to the truth? Are you even trying to seek what's right? Are you even trying to use critical thinking skills and reason? Right now, the left wing is void of all critical thinking. They're void of all reason and rationality. I don't seem biased because I'm super biased. I don't like liars and I don't like lies and I don't believe in government tyranny, and I've always believed in the freedom of speech. And even when I was more left-leaning, I always believed in the Second Amendment. Not because I wanted people to hurt people, because I knew the government was corrupt, so I thought it was a good idea that some people had guns. So the left wing is void of all of this. So they can call themselves progressives, they can call themselves socialists, they can call themselves communists, they can call themselves liberals, they can call themselves whatever they want, but at the end of the day, if you have no regards for critical thinking, if you think critical thinking is a threat, but it's not a threat that every major corporation and tech company is operating under this communist scheme, working with communist countries to try to censor speech, and that doesn't bother you, but it bothers you when someone thinks critically, you can call yourself a progressive, but you're just a liar. You're just a tool of the elite. And that's what Karl Marx designed communism to be. A bunch of working people and pseudo-intellectual liberals and people with rich parents who think they're fighting the system to get all these people together to form a coalition to give Karl Marx or Lenin or whoever was the communist leader control of the banks, control of transport, and control of the means of communication. Hold on one second. I'm going to get it now. Because somebody asked, since I did it the other day, everybody, we learn a little bit here. I'm going to read all 10 because I read 2 in my last video. I'm going to read all 10 of Karl Marx's his statements. He said, these measures will be, of course, different in different countries. Nevertheless, in the most advanced countries, the following will be pretty generally applicable. You see, your boy Karl Marx, the con artist. So these were Karl Marx's agenda. This was his agenda. He wrote it out with bullet points 1 through 10. I'm going to read them all. Abolition of property and land and application of all rents of land to public purposes. So abolish rent, abolish land. Who's trying to do that right now? The left wing. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and most average liberals. The second one, a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. Elizabeth Warren wants a heavily progressive or graduated income tax. Bernie Sanders wants a heavily progressive or graduated income tax. Karl Marx used the word progressive. The word progressive comes from communism. Liberals and communists and socialists have always called themselves progressive. It's not progress. So he wanted high income tax on people, not the government. The government gets that money. So those are his first 2. The third one, abolition of right of inheritance. So take away people's right to inheritance. 4, confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels. So he wanted to confiscate people's property, which you see them burning people's property now. 5, this one's the sneakiest one. Centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank with a state capital and an exclusive monopoly. Karl Marx wanted a central bank with a monopoly over credit and money. He was never for the people, guys. Karl Marx was a con artist for the bankers. We're going to give all the working people money, but first we're going to take all the money and all the credit. That sounds like somebody that wants to enslave you, which is why communism has never worked by design. This is the 6th one. He said centralization of the means of communication and transport into the hands of the state. Karl Marx is such a good guy for the worker that he wanted a central bank with all the money, centralization of transport, and the means of all communication. Why does Facebook not care that you're burning stuff down? Because a communist knows in order to be a communist, you need all the communication. That's why Facebook, Google, Twitter, they're working with communist China. They're making excuses for what you're doing, but won't let people protest the lockdown. You're not a threat to the system. You're not a threat to Amazon. He doesn't care that you're outside his house because he probably has 10 houses. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to read the last two again. Centralization of all credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank with a state capital and exclusive monopoly. Centralization of all means of communication and transport in the hands of the state. Extension of factories and instruments of production owned by the state. Bringing the cultivation of wastelands and improvement of the soil generally in accordance with the common plan. So he wants the government to own all factories, and you see what happened in Seattle. Ooh, it's Chaz. We're going to make our little plants. It's like I lived on a farm. I knew how to plant, but not as much as my family. But anyway, it's like they take all the factories and then plant a little plant. It's like Karl Marx probably didn't even know how to farm. But anyway, equal obligation of all to work, establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture, combination of agriculture with manufacturing industries, gradual abolition of the distinction between town and country by a more equal distribution of the population over the country, and 10, free education for all children in public schools, abolition of child factory labor in its present form, combination of education with industrial production. So Karl Marx wanted control of all the money with means of a central bank, abolition of rent, decentralization of communication, all communication, factories to be destroyed, him to control them all, free education, free government education, so the government can control all education, and also abolition of distinction between town and country as he's doing this. Does this sound familiar? When your country gets shut down and they destroy the means of all production, they basically almost put a halt on all this stuff, and the banks are already controlled. We've had a central bank since 1918, I think. These are all, half of that is Bernie Sanders out. We want a progressive tax, free education for all. It's all from Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto, and it's never been, I'm gonna say it one more time and then we'll get to more questions. It's never been for the people. If you study who Karl Marx was, if you understand where he came from, it's an ideology, I can't even say, but it's not for you when they take all the communication and the central banks. It's such a joke. I mean, I can't believe people fell for it, but. Someone said Marxism is about promising more than a business owner could ever offer realistically and seizing power. Exactly. Hey, if I'm in power, if you give me all the money and all the factories and you give me everything, all the banks, we'll make one bank and I'll control it and all the agriculture, give me everything and I'm going to give it to all you guys. It's like some guy coming to the park and be like, you guys want candy? I'll give you more candy than your mama gives you. Like, you tell your kid, like, no, don't talk to strangers at the park. If somebody offers you candy, don't get in the truck. That's Karl Marx, the candy man. He's like, hey guys, you want some candy? I got candy in my truck. Everybody's got candy in the if you just give me your central bank, it's like, no, Karl Marx, get away from the kids. That's the type of stuff you learn when you're 5. That's why they brainwash people with this stuff in college, so they leave college. They're like, I think I'm going to vote for a Marxist. It's like, just don't even go to college then. What's the point? You're just getting dumber. Keep Karl away from your kids, trust me. Someone said, why do they keep trying? They're going to fail. It fails every time, but there's also, I don't even know what I could say on Facebook. Or I don't know if people want to hear from me, but there's certain things in history that fail every time, but people keep doing them. So I don't know what I'm even allowed to say, but yeah, certain things never work and historically never have worked, like communism, but they keep trying it. And it's the same with other things that people constantly fail, and they just keep doing the same thing and then call it hate speech when you point out that they're doing it. So these are the games being played on multiple levels, but, you know, I guess they just want to fail again or something and blame someone else. I don't know. It's not going to work. Someone said, my neighbor's a farmer. He had 2 signs in his yard. It said, farmers are the backbone of America, and BLM. He doesn't see the irony. It's tough to educate people, but it's like, if he's a farmer and he's supporting Black Lives Matter, he probably doesn't know they're a Marxist organization, and he probably doesn't understand that Karl Marx wouldn't let him probably even own his farm. It is quite the paradox. Another funny one I saw, I don't know, I've been cheating and watching the NBA. I'm sorry, guys, I like basketball. But Goran Dragic, if you don't know Goran Dragic, he's a European player. He's a guard, so he's smaller. But he has equality on his shirt. So he's sitting there and his shirt says, equality. I'm such a not racist boy. I have equality on my shirt. What does equality mean to an NBA player? He's standing next to somebody taller. He doesn't have equal height. He's less fat or skinnier than the other guy. So he doesn't have equal height. He doesn't have equal weight. He's not the best player on the team, so he doesn't get paid the most. His salary's not equal. If you talk about LeBron James, he's not splitting his salary with the WNBA. They're not equal. Women are not equal to men in basketball. He doesn't split his salary with the entire black community, so they're not equal. LeBron James does not. Nothing is equal about the NBA. In fact, if the score is equal, they don't end the game and say, oh, guys, we all win. We all win. Black Lives Matter. We all win. Equality. No, they don't end the game until the game isn't equal. So the entire NBA is based off of non-equality. Not an equal score. The game doesn't end until the score is not equal. The players aren't equal heights. The players aren't equal weights. The players don't have equal skill sets. The players don't have equal salaries. The men's league doesn't have the same salary as the women's league. It's not a, gender bending, racial quotas. They don't have racial quotas. The best player plays. So everything that they want to implement on other people, they don't even do themselves. If they want equality, why doesn't their salary go to all the black people in the country? Because they don't care. They don't want equality. This is the Marxist and the communist ideology. They want equality for you. They get all the money, they get all the power, they get all the Nike deals. In Karl Marx's situation, he gets the means of communication, he gets to control all the media, he gets the banks, he gets all the agriculture. So it's equality for you, you're all equal with nothing, but not equality for them. So they don't want equality. If there was equality in this country, LeBron James would be poor. He would be just as poor as everyone else because everyone would have the same nothing. They only believe, say their name. They just have random phrases that they don't even believe. Equality in a sport that you play to not be equal, it's a joke. Everyone deserves the First Amendment, but we're losing that because of people like LeBron James and these people with this failed political ideology that don't even understand what they're saying. I love people, but I don't know. It's like, is what I do exactly the same as what someone else does? No, or else I wouldn't do it. So it's a joke. These are the games that they play, folks. I'm just going to show you something real quick. Obviously, I'm just saying you don't have to get it now, but this is godbless.com. You made in America. Obviously, godblesshats.com. It's in the bio, or dreamrare.com. I'm not going to show you what it says, but people said, Anomaly, I want a black hat. And I said, what's wrong with the white hat, you racist? No, I'm just kidding. But it's like people said, Anomaly, I don't want a white hat. It stains. And I was like, what do you mean by that? No. But people said they wanted a different color hat. So I'm getting different color hats. Look at a blue hat, a black hat. I'm going to get a pink hat. So I'm already on it. I can't show you the design. Get your God Bless hat while you can, because next month on October 1st, we're going to have new hats, and you're going to want those too. You might not want any hat, actually. Some people don't want them all, but I'm just trying to have fun. So that's what it is. Someone says, it makes me mad that you're saying you don't know what you're allowed to say. I mean, I've already said everything I want to say. I'm just trying to let people know to what extent these things are going on. I say what I want to say, and sometimes I say I don't know what I'm allowed to say because that's what I want to say. Here, how about this? Where can you see? You can see on October 1st, but ask me a question and I'll answer it. So, I don't want to harp on the same things all the time. So ask me a question. If you're curious about something, ask a question and I'll try to answer it. It's 4:22. I'll probably stay for 20, 30 minutes. I got energy today, so appreciate y'all for staying with me. Visors, I can't do visors because I want them to be made in the USA. These hats are made in the USA. I like the company. I like the branding. I like the American flag they have all over it. I like these hats, so I could get you a visor from Indonesia or something, but I'm trying to keep good quality up. What made you want to start talking about politics? I'm curious. I always mention things, like I used to rap since 2008, since I was like 18, 19, and I always rapped about real stuff. I feel like, I had some ignorant songs, but I always like to drop little gems in there. So I always semi-cared, but I never really cared about politics until 2016. Bernie Sanders, Trump were running. I noticed how the media was lying. I always knew the media was lying, but in 2016, they went into overdrive. And I'm an internet guy. I've been on the internet since I was like 9. So I started to see how Google was rigging it against Bernie Sanders for Hillary Clinton. I started to see how they were making the perception of what was going on totally inaccurate in favor of Hillary Clinton. So that's what made me want to start talking about politics specifically. I always knew it was a joke. I never cared about it. But with Bernie, I thought he was different, and he got me interested. In a way, he was a blessing in disguise, because I didn't even think about Trump. I liked The Apprentice. I always liked Trump, but I wasn't really right-leaning at all. But also, it led me to realizing how the whole media was rigged. I wasn't right-leaning because I'd never seen any cultural thing that made me think that way. Right-wingers have been getting destroyed in culture. Rap culture, pop culture, NBA. Nobody's really right-wing. At least that makes significant strides in selling it to people. So that's what made me want to start talking, was seeing how dishonest Google, New York Times, Washington Post, ABC, NBC, they're all putting out the same stories at the same time. Then you have Stephen Colbert, John Oliver. So the same story is everywhere at the same exact time. And everybody's like, well, this must be true because it's everywhere. But I could tell right in 2016 it wasn't true because I started doing my research. So that's why I wanted to say something, because I was like, man, this is evil. These people are mass socially engineering society and no one knows what's going on. So that was the gist of it. What do I think Trump could pull off or accomplish in a second term once he doesn't have to worry about re-election? The sky's the limit. I don't know. I think there's a lot Trump can do, and I don't want to pin it on him because it's a tough task, but he has to hold somebody accountable. He has to. If somebody just goes around setting fires everywhere and you let them set fires, they're probably not going to stop. So there's people in all over the place that won't stop. So he has to hold somebody accountable, and he has to just go balls to the wall. And he has to figure out a way to stop them from doing all this crazy stuff, because they control the narrative. They're so good at Russiagate, this and like from 2016 to 2020. You've seen me do videos about, are they making it rain? I try to talk about what's going on. Russiagate. I did 3 videos on Russiagate. But this is what the left and the deep state or the media, whatever you want to call them, this is what they're genius at doing. The Nancy Pelosi's are smart in a way of like sneakiness, where they know they can't impeach Trump, but they know if they try to impeach Trump, they waste his time, they change the trajectory of his presidency, they change what he can and can't say. Now, if they don't want him to talk to Russia, they say he worked with Russia, so he can't talk to Russia. They know that Biden was corrupt in Ukraine, so they say he worked with Ukraine, not because he did work in Ukraine, because now he can't talk to Ukraine to figure out what they're doing. So they figured out a way to just change the discussion, and then you have all these right-wing news people. What do they talk about every day? Russiagate, 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 Russiagate for 2 years, every day, Russiagate, Russiagate. So they change, socially engineer society. Even if you're defending Trump from Russiagate, you're living in their world. Why should I talk about Russiagate? I want to talk about energy. I want to talk about farming. I want to talk about rain and geoengineering. I want to talk about solutions. I want to talk about totally other stories that have nothing to do with that. So that's what they've done. So in the second term, he has to figure out a way to dodge that, because his whole thing, he's always on the defense, but he does a good job of being productive. But for me, that's what I would like to see more political people do, because they get caught in the world of the media, and then they say that they're fighting the media, but they talk about exactly what the media wants them to talk about all the time. And if you don't talk about that, people like Owen Benjamin, Alex Jones, they hate them, a lot, not all of them, but it's like they banish them to society, say they're crazy, and then they talk about nothing. I'm not going to sit here and justify everything Alex has said, because I honestly don't agree with everything he said, and he has questionable tactics all the time. But the point I'm getting to is, like, a lot of these mainstream conservatives, they don't really get to the core of anything. They're kind of just floating on the surface, talking about Russiagate, Ukrainegate, how, I said this the other night, but how many right-wingers did really revealing reports on COVID-19? I don't know. I didn't see very many. Tucker Carlson had a few. Everyone else kind of just like, I don't know. We need people to really fight the narrative. But that's what my book's going to be about. I'm not selling it because it's not even out. I'm excited about it. I'm giving people a plan, or at least an understanding, to move the Overton window back, because this is like what the left does. They control culture. They control even what you say. And they win even when you win the election. You got all houses of power and you don't even get anything done. So these are the games that they play. Someone said, Maxine Waters has strong opponent this election cycle, vote Joe Collins. I'm not in Maxine Waters' district, but I mean, this is another unfortunate problem, I think. Do you live in Maxine Waters' district? Like, Omar Navarro ran and he got blown out of the water. So it's like, just because I'm glad you're promoting it, but I'm just saying, like, people across the country are like, Maxine Waters got to go, but you got to live in her district, or, people in her district are probably going to vote for her again by 70%. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, if you live in Ohio and you want Maxine Waters to go and vote for Joe Collins, what matters is people in that district who vote for him, and I don't see that really happening. It could, but I don't know. There's other districts I think that'll be closer, but who knows? I don't know. Someone said, if Trump wins in October, do you feel the right will begin to speak out? Is the strategy on the right not to rock the boat too much? I mean, Trump has a strategy. I give him the benefit of the doubt over anybody, because he's running for office. He's there. He has to sit in these meetings. He's the one swimming with the snakes. So Trump, for sure, has to do something. He's got an election. He's focused on not getting cheated. He's focused on the ballot harvesting. He has every right to focus on that. But myself, the Shapiros, the Kirks, the Crowders, we don't have anything. I don't have anything to wait for. What do I have to wait for? I'm not running the election. So Trump has an excuse. Trump has something to hold off on. And I respect that. But as far as like most media and news journalists and right-wing like Trump supporters, we don't really have any reason to hold off. But I'll tell you, not those people specifically, God bless them, but other right-wingers told me not to talk about this type of stuff. I talked about this last year in 2018, or 2019. I said, guys, right-wingers are giving up free speech. The Overton window's moving too far, and nobody seems to want to back people up. When they were dropping right-wingers like flies, most right-wingers didn't want to speak up, because they knew the people who were getting kicked off Twitter and getting kicked off of YouTube, Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk didn't like them. They called them racist and anti-Semites. So a lot of these other right-wingers fall behind and say, I don't want to lose my spot at Daily Wire. I'm cool with Charlie. I don't want to say anything. But I try to tell them it's not a personal thing, but the First Amendment doesn't care. The First Amendment doesn't care about my opinion or your opinion or Shapiro's false, narrative about it. The First Amendment is very clear: the freedom of speech, the freedom of protest. And I said in 2019, the right wing is giving up the freedom to protest, and then they gave up the freedom of speech. So Trump has to play a game. I don't have to play a game. And I think most people in right-wing media prioritize money and power and fame and agenda over the Constitution as well. And they just do a better job of pretending like they're not. And they're better than Democrats by default, because what are Democrats doing right? So you get what I'm saying? These are the games that are being played. Trump has to do a certain thing to win an election, and I give him a pass. I don't have to do anything. Charlie doesn't have, these people don't have to do it. They're not doing it because of the election. They're doing it because they just don't want to tell you, or they don't want to go there. You know, it's not popular to go there, and they've created sort of like an allegiance of like, they've agreed on a lie. Like the left wing, what is 80% of what they're doing now? They've all agreed on the lie. Trump did this. It's not true, but we all agree on it, so we're all going to form a coalition of this lie. The right wing tells the truth a lot more, in my perspective, but there's certain lies that they've mutually agreed upon, and it's hard to crack that down, because when you tell most right-wing audience doesn't want to hear it, they say, no, these people are great. They would never do that. I'm not saying I'm not attacking their character or who they are or what they ate for breakfast. I'm just talking about the Constitution. If they have a weak stance on it, they have a weak stance on it. So this is what we have to get the ball rolling, because when everybody mutually agrees on a lie, people lose their minds when you try to explain it. I don't have a problem with them as a person, but if you support anti-Semitism rules and laws and you think it's illegal to boycott Israel, or you just, you make it harder for them to do, that's anti-First Amendment, and it's going to work against you, and it's already working against you. So I think this needs to be understood on the right, but when everybody on the right agrees with this stuff, and you say it, like, oh my God, you must be an anti-Semite. No, I believe in the First Amendment. Oh, you must be a racist. No, I believe in the First Amendment. But the irony of this is the people who will call me a racist or an anti-Semite are the most tribal. When have I ever talked about my tribe or my ethnicity? Most people don't even know what I am. I'm Italian, Polish, Puerto Rican, Czechoslovakian, but I could. I have the right to, technically, but I don't think like that. I think big scale. I think big boy. I think world. I think people are listening to me in Africa, and people are listening to me in Ireland. So what I say makes sense to everybody. So I'm not thinking about myself. But the people who call me racist and anti-Semitic the most are the people who are the most tribal, who hide behind their ethnicity, who talk about it all the time, who pass speech laws for it, who say you're not allowed to say it. You can question me, you can question the Pope, you can question Christians. I won't stop you. But they pass speech legislation, so you can't question either their ethnicity or their allegiance to Zionism, which is unfortunately, prioritizing someone else over America. So I say this, and most of the right-wing hive mind has been programmed to be like, well, that's anti-Semitic. No, it's not. It's pro-Constitution. It's pro-First Amendment. It's what everyone's stance should be. And then vice versa, you have these other edgier right-wingers who talk about ethnicity, who are white, in the same way that 90% of Black America does, or 80% of Chinese America does, or 95% of Jewish America does. So and then they'll say, well, that guy's a racist. We can't. He's a right-wing racist. It's like, he's racist for doing what you do, so are you a racist? But people don't consider racist when they do it to themselves, or they do it for other groups. So I don't buy into any of this stuff. I don't buy into any of this political correctness, speech regulation. I don't call people racist all the time. You'll never hear me call people anti-Semitic all the time, because these are not legitimate words that lead to anywhere but censorship. It's what you do when you're not intellectually honest enough or smart enough to win the argument. You got to explain, why is this hateful? Why is this wrong? Why is this bad? But they don't do that. So that's why I talk about it so much, because it's the number one thing that's going to drag the right wing down. And the people who don't want to hear about this now are the same people who didn't want to hear about it last year. And I said it last year, and then this year, now we have a bigger problem. And now the election might not even happen. So it's like, let's just wait till Trump wins an election. You might not even have an election. I'm not saying we could have stopped this, but when you give up your First Amendment, you give it up for everybody. If you give up your right to protest for Israel, now you gave up your right to protest for you. So when you want to protest the lockdown, but you've already given it up, so you don't have the moral high ground anymore. If you would have supported them, I don't agree with the BDS protesters, but if you could protest me, you could protest them. I don't agree with it. You can't be violent. You can't be hateful. I mean, I guess technically you could be, as long as you're not being violent, but I believe in the First Amendment. And the right-wingers gave it up, all of them. So this year, when you can't protest the lockdown, this is not random. It's because they've prioritized speech regulation words over the Constitution. And this has to change on the right wing. And I don't care how many people get mad at me, how many people think I'm being upset or whatever. I'm not. I believe in the Constitution. And this has to change on the right wing because it's going to lead to your demise. No question. Someone said conservatives base opinions of people off of character alone, not race or skin color. I agree with you for the most part, for sure. For sure, conservatives care more about the content of character than skin color than the left. The left is all about skin color, but it's not really true because in a lot of ways, the conservatives really do care about identity politics. They play black identity politics, they play gay identity politics. So as much as they say they don't believe in identity politics, they love black identity politics. When black identity politics backs up conservatism, they just use the same identity politics against the left. But then they call white people supremacists for doing that same type of identity politics, just like the left does. So you get what I'm saying? They've created these rules and laws, and both parties play to it. So do I think that right-wingers care more about content of character than the left wing? Absolutely. But are they 100% content of character, 0% identity? No. There's identity for Jewish people, there's identity for black people, there's identity for women's groups, or everything under the sun except for white people. So these are the games that both parties play. I'm not out here starting coalitions for ethnicities, but as an analyst, I find it quite hypocritical from both sides that they allow everybody to do something, and then if you did what they did, they'd call you racist. It's like, how many times do you do it, and then I can't even defend myself? And then they banish these right-wingers who feel what I just said. I watch a lot of them. I follow, and I listen to everybody. I'm so tapped in. If you've seen a video, I've probably seen it 5 times. I'm always on the ball. But I see the way that the right-wing leaders treat the other right-wingers, and they don't treat them right. They censor them and blacklist them, and it's got to stop because they're moving the Overton window to the left. The left lets their most extreme, violent people do whatever, and they barely say anything about it, which is wrong. I'm not saying that the right wing should do that, but the right wing has nonviolent, completely nonviolent people with an opinion, and the right wing throws them to the side and says, you can't be here. If they're being violent, they need to go to jail, but if they're not being violent, they're allowed to have an opinion. But you don't have free speech on the left wing or the right wing. They just pretend like they do on the right wing because by default, they're better than the left wing. But there is no free speech in this country. There are no people fighting for free speech. Very few, very, very few, including even the president. You can't fight for free speech when you pass executive orders to take it away. It doesn't work that way. And you're going to, unfortunately, as much as people don't want to hear this, you're going to figure it out. Once you lose everything, it's not just because of the left. Both parties have ulterior motives than the Constitution. And I could tell you what they are, but people don't want to hear what they are. And I could tell you why they're happening, but people don't want to hear that. And I could tell you historically how this trend has happened time and time again, but people would consider that hate speech. So, you'll have to catch a stream where someone asks a question and I'll answer it. And I've said it multiple times, but it's like, we'll get there. Someone said they created all divisions, identity politics, racial division, show up, red, and vote. For sure, I think here's 2 sides of that coin. The left wing exploits racial division. The left wing does not allow for racial unity. They don't allow for a national unity, one national anthem. Now they've done a black national anthem. It doesn't make sense. No disrespect to the song, but the national anthem is for America. America's a nation. It's not a race nation. It's a nation for everyone. So everyone who lives here, that's your anthem. There is no such thing as the black national anthem. It's a song, but if you want a black national anthem, you need a black nation because it's a national anthem, an anthem of a nation. But you have even black conservatives saying, well, I don't get why you're so upset about it. I'm not upset about it. I'm just being honest. You don't have your own nation. If you want your own nation, you can make your own nation or try to. Then you can have your own national anthem. But you can't be a black conservative saying you believe in 2 national anthems. You're falling for the trap of the Marxists. But the reason that people do this on the right is because people are tribal. A lot of black conservatives care about black more than they do about conservative. A lot of Jewish people care about Jewish people over other ethnicities. A lot of Asians care about Asians over others. A lot of people in Chinatown want to live in Chinatown because they want to live around Chinese people. Even when you give people the freedom of choice, a lot of people are tribal. And there's historical reasons and legitimate reasons that people feel this way. So sometimes, obviously, that's not how I live my life, but you can't strip that away from everybody. They're trying to say in this country, I think both sides are trying to say, well, I don't see it. It's like a lot of people choose to feel that way. So I think the only way our country can really unite is through the flag or something that unites us all, which is our country, the anthem, whatever. And that's why they're taking it away. But both sides fall for it because there's a lot of tribalism. But I would even argue I understand why there is tribalism. America is an experiment. America is more diverse than anywhere else. Like China's not this diverse, Japan's not this diverse, Africa's not this diverse. You don't see this type of diversity anywhere. So America is in many ways a beautiful experiment. But we're trying to, suggest here that people are not tribal, they shouldn't be tribal, and everyone's exactly the same. We'll see how it works out because clearly a lot of people want to be tribal. Even in America, even with the freedom, you have certain groups of people, certain ethnicities, certain religions, certain races that prefer their own, that work for their own, and you can't force that out of somebody. You could try, but clearly it's not working right now in this country. So I think we need to have an honest opinion about it and not call people racist. If someone says, I'm black and I only want to marry a black woman, I'm not going to call them a racist. I'm not calling anybody a racist ever because it's a dumb word, to be quite honest, to shut down discussion. So I think we have to be really honest about it. The left needs to stop dividing and prioritizing skin color over content of character, but also the right who says, oh, we're all going to do this and it's like, you might be wrong. Eventually there might need to be a real conversation about this type of stuff and figure out where people stand. Because I said, to black conservatives earlier, not all of them, but a lot of the ones I follow on Twitter were saying, I don't see the big problem with the black national anthem. I said the problem with it is this is an American nation that transcends race at this moment. So if you want a national anthem that's separate from the American one, you need your own nation. But they don't want their own nation, but you want an anthem for a nation that doesn't exist. What does that tell you? They're more tribal than they are American. They care about their race over the country. So it's going to be a problem in the future. I don't care about my race over the country. However, if everybody is bashing down at me and blaming me for everything and being ethnic and being tribal and then you can't even defend yourself or else they call you a racist, you see what I'm saying? There's going to be some problems in the future that I think conservatives and clearly liberals are not ready to face. But I don't think the truth really cares. So these conversations are going to have to happen anyway. Sean, thank you. Appreciate you, brother. Someone said, God bless gloves. I'm limited to what I can produce and produce well. The reason I have these hats and not visors and stuff, this is made in the USA. It's a great hat. It's great quality. I'm not going to sell bad stuff. I can't do it. I can't sell you a cheap hat. I can't sell you one from a country that costs $2 to make. My stuff is expensive to make in its quality. I can't say it's the most expensive, but this hat I bought a hat somewhere else for $5. This one cost way more just to make the hat, not alone. So I can't, if I could find gloves that are good gloves made in the USA, I'll think about it, but it's hard to come by really good quality stuff that's made in the United States. So that's why I'm selling the hats, because they're made in the USA, great quality, and I'd rather go quality over quantity, so I got to go slow because I can't sell a bad product. It's not going to happen. So it said, tribes are still a real thing on other continents. How well is it going? Well, in general, I think the human experiment is, I don't know. It's never been one that's perfect. It's never been peaceful. I don't know that there's ever been, tribes that were at peace. So, I'm not sitting here saying, well, every country is great because they're less diverse. Like, clearly that's not the case. There's a lot of inter-tribe problems and inter-country problems, interracial problems, and then there's exterior problems. These are all happening. But an honest conversation needs to happen in order to solve these problems. you can't act like these things don't exist and these trends don't exist and these feelings don't exist and these priorities don't exist. You have to admit they exist, and then we can talk about it. But this is why when I say this stuff, if someone would say, you're a racist, you're an anti-Semite, you're just lying. I don't hate all Jewish people. I don't hate all any race. I'm probably, out of anybody, one of the least racist people out, because I literally, from the bottom of my heart, don't hate anybody for random reasons, like, oh, I just hate everybody. That doesn't exist, so these words don't matter. But we have to be able to say, listen, it's not everybody's fault. It's not all these people's fault, but at the same time, understand people are tribal. Just because I say that doesn't mean, well, oh, all these tribes, if we all separated, we'd all get along. Like, that's not true. If all black people and all white people separated and made their own nation, do I think the black tribe would be completely crime-free? I don't think so at all. Do I think the white side would be completely crime-free and there would be no problems? No, there's going to be problems everywhere. So I'm not saying it solves all problems. I'm just saying we have to be honest about how people feel. If you live in a country where 30 million people want an anthem for their race and they prioritize their race over the anthem, you can't act like it's not happening. It is happening, but then we have to figure out where we go from here. That's why I say, what do you want? Even when it comes to these leaders like, the Sharptons and Farrakhan's and, whatever. It's like, I'm not going to yell at them and call them a racist. I'm just saying, what do you want? If you want a black national anthem, you need a black nation. Do you want your own nation? Marcus Garvey talked about that in the 1900s. Malcolm X talked about, certain things in the night. I'm not going to call him a racist. Just what do you want? Because if you want your own national anthem, you need your own nation. Do you want your own nation, or do you want to live in America? What do you want? A lot of times people don't know what they want. So it's like we can't get to what people actually want and desire until we have an honest conversation about it. We can't just say, oh, we're all exactly the same. We all feel the same way. It's like, clearly that's not happening. Our whole country is destabilized. So something's going wrong. We can point the finger, but we need the freedom to do that and then dissect through what's happening and solve it, rather than just like, everyone's a racist, sexist, xenophobe, and I don't see any color. It's like, well, I hear what you're saying, but we're gonna have to have a tough conversation. In other countries as well, even when the demographics are all the same, they have issues as well. But we just have to be able to talk about it. Someone said they keep kicking me off. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I'm only gonna stay for probably 10 minutes more and then I'm gonna leave. I know, I always overstay my welcome. Someone said literally people don't love America and they need to spend a month somewhere else. But that's the thing. If you really hate America, these are the conversations we need to have. Like, what do you want? Where do you want to go? Because if I don't like somewhere, I'll go somewhere. But you're not allowed to say anything anymore. That's the problem. Everything's offensive. Everything's hateful. But it's like you see it happening and you just want to have a conversation about it or have an opinion about it. We have to reclaim free speech, no question. Do I remember when they wanted to do the national anthem in Spanish? No, I don't remember, but that's, I'm sure they tried to do that, just like Cory Booker spoke Spanish at the debate. And what's his name? Joe Biden listened to Despacito. They're pandering. But people in Chinatown want to live in Chinatown and speak Chinese. A lot of them speak Chinese to each other because their English is broken. Some don't. But people have a right to want to speak the language that they know. So if everyone else does it in the world, it's fine. But if an American suggests that, they'll call him a racist. Go to China and try to bring in 100 million people and tell China that they need to speak the language that you demand. If they do it naturally, that's fine, but people need to be allowed to feel a certain way. I don't know. I just don't get offended by anything. I'm tired of people just shutting down discussion rather than intellectually debate it and make a valid point and then be like, okay, I agree with that. Someone said, you can never overstay. You're always welcome in my feed. Well, thank you. Someone said, we got to get back to the basics, love and respect and stop the hate. It's tough to do though, because you have major media outlets that are just blasting hate out all the time. I mean, they've completely shifted people's mindset where absolutely that's what needs to happen. But how do you do that when you have major corporations all supporting hate? When you have academics and major institutions, billions of dollars being funneled in to support hate? These people need to be stopped, but they have roadblocks, so you can't stop them. And both parties are in on it. So if you try to get closer and closer to where all of this wickedness is coming from and all this evil is coming from, it's not random. This is not random. It's not by mistake. This has been implemented. This has been infiltrated for 100 years. But we need our free speech back, because this is not random. Do I think if Trump wins, there'll be more unrest? They're for sure going to try to do that, but that's what I said earlier, is he's got to do something about it. If somebody commits terrorism, you got to arrest him. If the Democrats won't do it, he's got to do it. At a certain point, we're going to have to sue on a big level. If they're shutting down churches, everybody should have been suing them. Every church in California should have been suing. Why did only one? Like, Trump needs some help too. Everybody needs to figure out, how to stop this stuff. But on a legal level, yeah, he can't just have terrorists burning things down and Democrats lying. People need to be held accountable. And I think if you can hold a few people accountable, they'll scatter like roaches and they'll scatter like rats. So it's like a lot of their illusion is being propped up by the fact that no one ever gets held accountable. You hold a few people accountable and the power structure can really fall apart. So they're never gonna stop. And this is my issue with even the right wing. Like, if you look historically and biblically and what's going on here and what happened in World War I and what happened in World War II and what happened before them, these are the same things on loop. There's certain people and certain ideologies that do the same things over and over and over again because they're operating on a totally different mindset. It needs to be talked about because people do not feel the same exact way. So for instance, everybody makes mistakes. There's bad people all over the place. But if your rule is thou shalt not steal, and your rule is thou shalt not kill, and your rule is thou shalt not, sexualize 5-year-olds, and your rules are thou shalt not give out high interest banking loans. And then you have a group of people that don't follow those rules and they say, thou shalt kill, thou shalt steal, thou shalt marry 4-year-olds. Like, you're not operating on the same wavelength, but people aren't researched enough into who feels that way, and it's not random. This is their ideology, and it's not everybody. If you talk about it, they say, well, you think everyone feels that way? No, I don't think so. If somebody in the Middle East blows somebody up, is every Muslim responsible for that? Not at all. But are they being manipulated and inspired by certain legislation or rather certain scriptures that they interpreted in certain ways or certain books? They are. That is where they get it from, but it's not everybody. You could say it's 1% or less, but it is happening, and you want to figure out why they're doing it. So in America, all this stuff, the perversion, the degeneracy, the debt, it's all coming from somewhere. There's all a specific historical and biblical reason it's here, and nobody wants to talk about it, and nobody wants to address it. So it's not going to stop. Why would it? Because people are not randomly doing it. They're purposely doing it. It's what they think. And you don't know that they think it, so they have an advantage. And there's a speech rule for every which way to figure out what they're doing. You can't say this. You can't say that. That's a conspiracy theory. That's racist. This is that. These are the games that they play. People that are very tribal and very ethnically centric don't want you to be tribal and you to be ethnocentric, or they don't want you to even mention that they're doing it. So I could sit here and lie to you and say that this is just randomly going away, but it's not, because no one knows what's going on by design. So I'm just learning more and more, and the more I learn, the less you could really say. You could call them globalists, you can call them whatever you want. There's different groups doing different things. There's different organizations. A lot of things intertwine. Some people have nothing to do with it. Some people, Jack Dorsey, what's his deal? I don't know, but he's in on it a little bit. He's doing something, but in general, there's certain trends and certain patterns, and the more you know, the less they allow you to say. I say it all the time. You just have to follow me on social media and I'll say it, but I don't know what to tell you. Someone said it must be getting very frustrating. It's whatever. I mean, it can be frustrating, but that's a personal issue. If I get frustrated, it's my own fault, you know? You can't get mad at the same thing all the time. You know, that becomes a personal issue. So if you can't change what's going on, you have to just adapt and, you know, figure out a way to be effective and have fun. So I do get frustrated sometimes, but it's my fault. It's not anyone else's fault. I need to learn how to, you know, manage my time better. Why the coin shortage? The coin shortage? I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure it has something to do with some sort of money thing. Obvious. Thoughts on Joe Jorgensen for president? All right, I'll end on this one. People keep asking me on Instagram and Twitter, and I have to be honest. I think it's funny, and libertarians really get mad at me, but you hear my stances. You hear how critical I am of both parties and even the Republicans for what they're not doing. I really, not as a person, she seems nice. As a politician, I really don't like Joe Jorgensen. To me, she's one of the worst libertarian candidates I've ever seen. She's terrible. I couldn't imagine throwing my vote in the trash can for Joe Jorgensen. She's totally inept to understand how to run a country. She doesn't understand culturally what's going on. She made a massive mistake with Black Lives Matter because she has no idea who they are. If you don't even understand the social, cultural, you know, racial traps that are going on that they're using to trick people, and you get tricked, you're not suitable for the White House, let alone even to be the head of the Libertarian Party. She's a total joke. She tweeted yesterday a picture of Trump and Biden, and she was like, "This headline is unbelievable." It's like, it was a headline about sexual allegations. So a libertarian candidate that doesn't believe in the right to a fair trial, who's gonna get duped by a headline? Well, there's a headline that says there's an allegation. I mean, we need me in the White House. It's like, we don't need someone in the White House that doesn't understand how headlines are manipulative and who doesn't understand that accusations and allegations are being used to take away our right to a fair trial. So she's a total joke. She's the worst candidate they've ever had, and voting for her is throwing your vote in the trash can, and not even for a good reason. I voted third party in 2016. To me, Joe Jorgensen, I can't believe people think she's a good candidate. Just because she sits on the Libertarian Party doesn't mean she's libertarian or even understands culturally or socially how to make our country more libertarian. She doesn't understand anything. She doesn't understand Black Lives Matter. She doesn't understand the media. She doesn't understand the headlines. So what's she going to do? She's not only not going to win, but she doesn't deserve to win. She's terrible. Gary Johnson's a better candidate than her. You got it. That whole party is such a joke. What has she done? Nothing. But I'm just saying, like, follow her Twitter feed. It's like following like a confused college girl. It's like, it's really sad. They need to get some better leadership. And I like some libertarians a lot, but not her. Sorry. Not as a person, just as a politician. So I said, Anomaly, I'm a baby boomer. I don't know why you said that, but it's pretty funny. And she doesn't understand anything. It's insane. And this is going to be a close election. I'm not here making people, oh, if you vote third party, you ruin the election. But it's either Trump or Biden. And Joe Jorgensen is like 1/10 of the candidate that Gary Johnson is. So do you really, in a close election, want to give a vote to a libertarian who's not even a libertarian, who doesn't understand culturally, socially, or border-wise what's going on? She would be 1,000 times worse the president than Trump. She would get immediately swallowed up by the media. She would have no idea how to handle all the social traps that they're giving to her because she doesn't get the dynamic of what's going on. What's the point? It's like, not only is she not going to win, but she's not even worthy of a vote over Trump. Like, at least Trump culturally understands what's going on and culturally does more than anybody else to shift it. And people don't understand how big that is. Obviously, policy is important. Obviously, judges are important, federal judges. But even more importantly is Trump has kind of, in a way, even if he passes speech laws that I don't agree with, he has turned the culture in a direction to inspire people to look into it in a deeper way. And the entire conservative movement is way more advanced than they've ever been thanks to President Trump. So, like, he's done so much, even amongst, things I don't agree with, where I hate to pick on her, but it's like, man, I'm following her on Twitter. It's like a parody account. She's the worst candidate I've ever seen for the Libertarian Party. It's sad because it's like, just find a how hard is it to find a libertarian candidate? I mean, libertarianism is a decent ideology with good, like, morals, and, well, actually a lot of them seem to be void of morals. You got Reason being like, well, cuties is this. It's like, stop defending cuties. It's kind of weird. But besides that, just get a libertarian candidate who knows what libertarianism is. Libertarianism doesn't mean support pseudo Marxist organizations that are destroying the country and not understand how headlines work. I think it's funny to talk about, but I'm like, man, she's not it. And then libertarians get mad at me. They're like, Anomaly, you don't know Joe. I'll interview her. I think I tried to email her. She probably hates me, but whatever. Someone said, I enjoy how the left tries to ruin your life if you don't share the same opinions with them. Social terrorism. It's horrible. They absolutely try to ruin your life if you don't share the same opinions. What's even more horrible is a lot of conservatives do it to other conservatives when they don't share the same opinions. They call them racist and anti-Semites. So I agree with you. The left is the worst about that. The left does it the most. They're the most ruthless. They do it at your job of work. But it's hard for me to feel bad for Republicans that are following other Republicans who do the same thing to other Republicans who try to stop the Overton window from being moved to the left. Because there's a reason socially, there's a reason religiously, there's a reason culturally, there's a reason morally, and there's a reason literally that the left moves the Overton window left. And the people who understand why it's happening and how it's happening and try to calmly counter it get banished by the right wing too. So it's hard for me to, people need to understand that aspect of it too. The left is by far the worst at it, for sure. They're insane. But we gotta figure out a way to get these other right wingers to stop doing the same thing. It's no bueno, which means no good for those who don't speak Spanish. My Twitter account is at Legendary Energy. At Legendary Energy. So many of these businesses run by the left. Yeah, almost all of them, for sure. It's going to be an uphill battle. I'm ready, though. I need to do some, you see what I'm saying? I'm ready for the revolution, folks. I'm ready for November. Are they going to start burning stuff down? I don't know, but I'm ready. I'm getting fit. All right, I feel good now. I just gave myself 10 more minutes. All right. Let me see. John Stossel did an interview with Joe Jorgensen. Watch how liberal and crazy her ideas are. She'll lose you completely at border control. I'm telling you, I've listened to her interview. She's the worst libertarian candidate I've ever seen in my life, and there's been some pretty bad candidates. She's horrible. Every libertarian should not vote. You gotta rearrange that party. The Libertarian Party is a train wreck, but she, among all of them, is horrible. Don't throw your trash can in the vote for Joe Jorgensen. Trump is going to do 1,000 times more in a libertarian way than Joe Jorgensen. He's clearly not perfect. He's clearly not libertarian. Joe Jorgensen might as well be a Berkeley graduate. She's like, end the wars, but you don't even know anything, though. How are you going to end the wars? Someone said, has Ben Shapiro called you out as anti-Semitic? No, I don't even know if Ben knows who I am or cares, but he's called Nick Fuentes anti-Semitic and Owen Benjamin anti-Semitic, and he just, instead of debating them, he just calls them anti-Semites all the time. And then he says, anybody that suggests anybody's dual loyal is anti-Semitic. He overuses the word anti-Semitic. He thinks it's hate speech to suggest that someone has dual loyalty. His First Amendment stance is weak, but you don't have to like Owen Benjamin, and you don't have to like Nick Fuentes. But Ben's never debated them. So how are you going to call them a hate speech word but not debate them? If I called Ben Shapiro a racist and then Ben Shapiro wanted to debate me and I said, oh, I don't debate racists, I'm a clown. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Ben's a racist. I don't think he's a sexist. I don't think he's a xenophobe. What do these words mean? These are stupid words created for dumb people to make you look bad and assassinate your character. That's the same thing he does to Fuentes, and that's the same thing he does to Owen Benjamin. He takes a joke that they said 5 years ago, whether it was out of context or not, and uses it as a reason to call him an anti-Semite. That's like saying, I'm not going to debate Trump because of Stormy Daniels. Well, I'm not going to debate Ben Shapiro because he talked about Palestinians when he was 17 years old. That's a total it's like Ben said things I don't agree with, but that's my big problem. He hasn't called me an anti-Semite because I'm not, but he's called other people anti-Semites that he couldn't debate. Nick or Owen would probably debate Ben. I know Nick wants to, and Ben won't debate him. I don't agree with everything Nick says, just like I don't agree with everything Ben says, but I think Nick could beat Ben in a debate, and Nick wants to debate Ben, and Ben just calls him an anti-Semite, takes things he said out of context, and smears him to millions of conservatives so you don't actually listen to what he says. I don't like that. I think as long as you're nonviolent, you should be allowed to talk. If you have something edgy to say racially, I don't care. I just don't understand this political correctness coming from the right. It's like, we're so not politically correct. Unless you talk about that, then you're an anti-Semite racist. It's like, no, have a debate. If you're gonna smear somebody as a racist, you have to debate them. If not, you're afraid. These are the tactics that they use. You get what I'm saying? You can't take something that somebody said one time and then just, well, I'm not going to debate Louis C.K. because he made a joke in Israel. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You don't take one thing that they said and then smear them and then run away from a debate and tell everybody that they're preaching hate speech. That's what a coward does. These people, I'm sorry. It's very cowardly. I can't jive with it. So that's my problem. It has nothing to do with personality or nothing. You just can't do that. That doesn't make sense. And that's not protecting the First Amendment. Someone said Ben would be a tough debate. I'm not even talking about me. I'm saying in general, it would not be a tough debate for me because I can provably point out how he doesn't support the First Amendment. And he's never mentioned it because he runs away from anybody who talks about it. So I'm not even remotely scared, but I'm not talking about myself. If I smeared Ben as a hate monger, but then I wouldn't debate Ben, I would be a coward. That's what Ben does to other people. He calls them anti-Semites and then refuses to debate them, and then they ban these right-wingers from events and then get banned off of YouTube, and all these other right-wingers just punch down at him. So that's what I'm saying. You could say all you want, well, he would destroy you. Well, then why does he run away from people he calls hate mongers? Because he can't debate them. It's not a competition, but you think he wins all the time because he's never debated anybody who calls him out on what he does, which is push anti-First Amendment legislation, or rather support it, and push these rules that are totally not true. So who cares what you think? Someone said Owen Benjamin is a racist, though. These words to me, okay, you're a racist, I win, you're a racist. It doesn't mean anything to me. Al Sharpton's a racist, Louis Farrakhan's a racist, Ben Shapiro's this is what stupid people do when they don't want to have a conversation. Is every left-winger racist because they're doing black-owned businesses and doing Black Lives Matter? Does that make them racist? You could say that, but to me, it's a dumb word. I'd rather talk about their ideology and intellectually dissect why I think it's a bad idea. Just calling someone a racist doesn't make sense. Is the Anti-Defamation League racist? The ADL, which is a Jewish organization that only focuses on Jewish interests, are they racist? Is the NAACP racist because they focus on black people? You only punch down at white people who do the same thing because that's the Overton window that they've given you. They've said, black people can do it, Hispanic people can do it, Jewish people can do it, Asian people can do it, but if you do what they do and you're white, you're a racist. So what does that word even mean? It means you don't want to debate him. You don't want to have a conversation about what he says. He's very edgy. He makes messed up jokes, but he's a comedian. That's what comedians do. Louis C.K. went to Israel and made a joke about the Holocaust. He's Jewish, though, and it was Israel. They laughed at it. That's really messed up, but it's also really edgy. That's what comedians do. I'm not going to do that, but am I going to call Louis C.K. an anti-Semite because he did that? No, because that's just, I don't know. Is that not what comedy is to you? When Chappelle did, the black white supremacist, is he a racist doing whiteface? I just thought it was funny. I don't live in this world that everybody's mad at everything. Owen is hilarious. If you listen to him, he's super funny. He's super honest. And sometimes he might say something you disagree with. But he's a racist. I win. He's a racist. That's what Ben does. That's why I don't have that much respect for these people. Because they just censor and silence and call people names and then run away and then tell everybody they won. They didn't win. They're afraid to debate. And you could watch these debates, these type of people talk to other people, they mostly don't lose debates because the person who usually wins the debate is usually the smarter, more honest person, but it's the less politically correct person. If you're politically correct, you're just lying. You're afraid to say something and you're going to call someone a name. That's how you lose a debate. You have to say why and how, and they don't do that. So someone said Chappelle's hilarious. He is hilarious. So I don't subscribe to this. Someone said Owen's not funny when he says, the N-word. I personally think, honestly, I don't say it. It's not for me, and it's not my thing. But I think it's a statement to do something when everyone says not to do it. And they say you can't say certain things. Some people say it just because other people say they can't say it. So they say, I'm going to do it because you said I can't do it. What's the most messed up joke I could say? What's the thing that people, they had a George Carlin bit 10 years ago. He said the 10 words you're not allowed to say. And then he would say them. I'm not going to say them. They're all curse words. But that was the bit. I'm not going to do certain things. It's not for me. But what does it say that you can bomb, just like intellectually, what does it say that you can bomb a country in Africa or the Middle East and kill millions of people and nobody will call you a racist, but you say one word one time and then you're a racist? Oh my God, he said one word one time. He must hate everybody on the planet. That just shows you what they've done to people's brains. Certain words I don't use because I don't find them nice and I don't find them convenient, but what's worse, murdering millions of people in Africa or the Middle East or using one word one time? But these are the games that they play. Well, he's a bad person because he said the word. It's like, that's why they say the word. I don't agree with it, but it's like they say it to prove that it's just a word. That's the comedy bit. So it's not for me, but to sit here, these words, they have people's brains scrambled. That's why your country's going down the tubes, because nobody can prioritize anything. Owen's sitting on a farm with his wife farming. He owns chickens. He doesn't care that you called him a racist because he's got chickens, a family, and he makes his own food and he's homesteading. So he doesn't care what you say. It's like, oh, he's a racist. Well, what are you doing? What have you done that's so great for black people and Hispanic people? What have you done? You didn't say a word one time, so you saved the whole country of Libya? You didn't do anything. And this is what these politicians do. They're like, well, Joe Biden's a racist because he passed the crime. Is he a racist? No, he's just a liar. Does he hate all people? No, he just lies all the time. He doesn't hate an entire race. Is Trump a racist? Trump's not a racist. He called someone horse-faced. Does Trump hate women? No, he just called someone horse-faced. I don't know. Is it what I would do? No. Is it funny? I think it's hilarious. So it's just a word. So people prioritize words over actions. People don't give a shit that people go over to Africa and test out their vaccines, and now even AP and the World Health Organization reports that there's more Africans in Africa with polio from the vaccine than from nature. No one cares about this, but then these Republicans and these Democrats, the liberals and he's a racist because he said a word. If you care so much about black people, go to Africa and try to figure out why they're getting polio from a vaccine. You don't care. You care about acting like you have the moral high ground because somebody said something one time that hurt your feelings. This is why people say it. I don't know. There's not like people make fun. These type of things don't bother me. I get that they bother some people and I respect it. But at the same time, I think people got to get their priorities right because this is how they control you. And this is why certain people push the boundaries. This is why Louis C.K. went to Israel and told that joke. This is why Owen says what he says. This is why Nick Fuentes says what he says. I'm not them. I act how I act and feel how I feel. But I understand why they do what they do because people tell them they don't. And if you get to the core of why it doesn't make sense, a lot of people can't really pinpoint it because then they get challenged. They're like, well, I allow Asians to do that and black people to do that, but I don't allow you to do that because you're a racist. Why is it not racist to have thousands of organizations for blacks, Hispanics, and Jewish Americans specifically looking out for only their people, But then if you say a word or make a joke or prioritize what everyone else prioritizes, then you're the bad guy. It doesn't make sense. That's why these right-wingers call everyone a racist and an anti-Semite. It's not because they're better. It's because they're not better. They're liars. They're so politically correct when it's convenient to be politically correct. When it's convenient to pass speech legislation, they'll pass speech legislation. Well, I don't like Ilhan Omar. I'll pass the speech legislation. Well, Louis Farrakhan bothers me. Let's kick him off Twitter. Well, let's ban his book. It's too bad. It's like, that's not free speech, and that doesn't mean you're right. It makes you look bad, in my opinion. But I get that this might not be a popular opinion. Quite frankly, I just don't care. Someone said, please source the polio comment. Just Google polio vaccine Associated Press. It'll come up 2 articles, one from 2 weeks ago, one from 2019. 2 articles in the AP proving what I just said. Someone said people are too thin-skinned. For sure, but political correctness is not good. And with comedy, I don't know. I've always liked comedy. Like, I don't know if you guys know who Anthony Jeselnik are. Anthony Jeselnik's jokes used to be super messed up. Like, he used to say some super dark stuff, really bad. Like, if you were to say that in normal life, it's really messed up. But that was the joke. I don't know. The joke was it was so messed up that it was like, wow, I can't believe he said that. There's something funny about that. You know, I don't know. I can't lie and pretend like I'm offended more by a word than somebody going to another country and bombing people and giving them medicine that makes them sick. To me, there's a huge difference. And that's like people say, well, racism is worse than cuties. This is how they're brainwashing people. They're brainwashing you to think a word that means 50 million things that at this point doesn't even mean anything is worse than a guy filming an 11-year-old rubbing themselves and wearing skimpy clothing. That's worse. That's objectively worse. If an Asian wants to marry an Asian, that's not worse than somebody putting an 11-year-old on a stage and making them rub themselves. That's way worse, but that's how they get you. Well, the racism from Owen's worse than the this from the that. It's really not. It's really not. On a moral scale, it's like one is objectively horrible and the other one is objectively offensive. But if you're not offended by words and other people's opinions, who cares? Like, I was in a debate with Nuance Bro one time, and he was trying to get me to call Louis Farrakhan an anti-Semite. I don't agree with a lot of things that Louis Farrakhan says. We're different people. We have a different religion. We have different politics. We have very few things that we overlap on. However, I'm not going to smear even him as an anti-Semite because to me that's just a word to take away his free speech. And he's like, well, he's a racist. I'm like, tell me how he's a racist. I know he probably doesn't like my skin color, but I'm still not going to call him a racist because I just find that word totally annoying. So he's like, well, he says you were born in a lab. I'm like, that's funny. That's funny to me. I've heard Farrakhan speak. He's said things that I'm like, man, I really don't like that. I really disagree. But at the same time, other times, not so much. So I was like, he said I was born in a lab. I'm supposed to cry about that. To me, that's really funny. To me, that's like a comedy bit. Like Louis Farrakhan said, white people are born in a lab. That's like a bit right there. That's not like offensive speech that needs to be ripped out of society. I can't stand these censors on both sides. I don't know. All the people that they censor usually have some gems. I like to listen to the whole thing and then take what I like and then leave the rest. That's how I learn. If I read I read the Communist Manifesto. I don't like Karl Marx. I hate communism. But I don't just ban the book. I read the book. I read the whole book, and there's some gems in there too, even though I don't like it. You know, I read How to Lie with Statistics. There's gems in there. I got all these books. I even have, look it, I'm going to just show you. I got Leon Trotsky. I don't like him, but I want to know what he thinks. I got Mao Zedong. I don't like him, but I want to know what he thought, so I know what they're doing. I'd rather hear for myself what they're doing and learn than just banish everybody from society. I can't stand the fact that that's like becoming, you know, what's it called? Status quo. It's not okay. It's really got to change. Someone said, you're good. I'm trying to make you lose it. I'm not going to lose it. I'm good. Red dry. I don't know what that is. Suddenly it's all coming out. No, I've been buying books left and right. I have all this stuff. I'm reading all the books from all the classic dictators and such because I don't want to know what someone else said. I need to learn exactly what they said. How do I know that communism isn't a mistake? I know it because I read it. So before I read it, I just said, oh, these people are so dumb, they think communism would work, but it doesn't work because, a big guy just takes advantage of it. That's what I thought before I read the Communist Manifesto. Now, after I read it, I realized the reason communism never works is because it does work. It's not like it fails by mistake. It's designed to do exactly what it's always done. So they think it fails randomly. No, it fails because it's designed to fail. I only know that because I read it. This is why people say, how do you know so much? Because I listen to all the people that right-wingers try to ban. That's how I know everything. Everybody that Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk try to kick to the side, I listen to. And they try to stop everybody from learning anything. It's like, I want to listen to Shapiro and I want to listen to Kirk, but I also want to listen to the people they ban. And then I could compare what they said and what they said to what they said. But you can't do that when everybody's banning each other. You got the left wing wants to ban Shapiro. You got Shapiro wants to ban Benjamin. You got this guy want to ban this guy. Next thing what happens, nobody's around anymore. And that's what we're experiencing because no one actually believes in free speech. Everyone pretends to, and it's eye for an eye for an eye for an eye. And now you have a situation where communist China gets better treatment on social media than America. You don't have the First Amendment anymore. You don't even have the ability to protest against the lockdown. This is a dual party operation to make the acceptable discussion something that's not really acceptable. I don't accept it. I'm never going to accept it. So eventually they're going to start banning the books. And eventually they're going to ban the Bible. And when they ban the Bible or try to ban the Bible in 5 years or 6 years, you're going to say, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. How are they trying to ban the Bible? But you allowed it to happen because if you read the Bible out of context, you could say the Bible's anti-Semitic. You could say it's homophobic. You could say it's racist, even though it's not, but there are tribes in the Bible. You could ban the Bible off of homophobia. So if you allow people to ban other people for anti-Semitism, don't get confused when the Bible gets banned by anti-Semitism. Because if you read Revelations, if you read it, they'd call you an anti-Semite. Or if you read the Old Testament, they'll call you a homophobe. So when you give this up for other people and then you lose it in 5 years, you'll be like, well, I was fighting for free speech. But were you though? Were you really fighting for free speech? Because at the end of the day, if you don't believe in free speech for the people you disagree with, you don't believe in it for anybody. And most people who are getting banned are not the worst people. A lot of times they're the most honest people who say things that no one else wants to say. But the reason that you can't say it is not because it's not true, it's because it is true, and they don't want you to say it. The people in power don't want to hear it, so they ban them. They don't ban things that are real, or they're fake. They ban things that are true and too close to home. So once people realize this, that's when we can reclaim free speech. Until then, we're just playing a game of patty cakes. Left hit, right hit, take them out, take them out. I'm buying all the books. I got all the banned books. I got my old dictionary. Here, I'll give you another one real quick. I'm going to read this while I'm at it. Hopefully this doesn't get me censored, but this came up. I'm going to find it real quick just to show you guys. This is a dictionary. It's reprinted, but it's from, you can't really see, it's backwards. It's from 1928. See that? 1928. So this is the original dictionary, folks. And this is a word that I always used to use. And I got called out multiple times in person, online, to not use this word. So I'm going to read the original definition of it. So hold on, I got to find it real quick. Really quick. This is what words actually mean before they rig the dictionary. All right, so hold on one second. Almost there. Okay, so this is the word retard. This is what the word means in the original dictionary, Webster's dictionary. The word retarded was never a slang term to make fun of somebody mentally ill. That happened 100 years later. Somebody used it out of context, and then they tried to take your whole word away. So this is what they do with racist, sexist. They're trying to take your words away. The word retard means to diminish the velocity of the motion, to hinder or to slow the progress. It means to stay back. Retardation is the act of abating the velocity of motion. Hindrance in the act of delaying. Retarded means to hinder the motion. A retarder is one that retards. Retarding is abating the velocity of motion. Retardment is the act of retarding. So the word retard and retard means to stop, to slow the motion and velocity. It's a fantastic word. I've used it for a decade because I knew what the word meant since I was 15. I used to be pretty smart. I mean, I was also kind of an idiot in school, but I read a lot and I read the dictionary. So I knew what the word retard meant, and I started using it, and everybody started saying, oh my God, that's hate speech. I'm like, what are you talking? The word means to slow down. That's literally by definition what it means, to slow down. So at some point, somebody used it as a mean word, and then they tried to take the whole word away. Now if you use the word online, you get kicked off of social media. Why do you get kicked off of social media? For hate speech? You can call someone dumb, you can call someone stupid, but you can't use the R word. It's a better word than dumb or stupid. Dumb and stupid are dumb and stupid words. Retard is a smarter, funnier word. So it's not, somebody used it to be mean one time and then they take the whole word away. They do the same thing with everything else. And this is what my whole book's gonna be about it. I'm pumped. I'm writing like massive chapters every day. All the words that they use to take away our words, and we're never gonna reclaim it until we get to the core of this stuff. That's why these other people, it's not a competition. I'm like, watch me, don't watch them. No, watch them and watch me. But the problem is, one day you're not going to be allowed to watch me, and you're only going to watch them, and they're not talking about this stuff, so you're not going to learn it. And that's by design. They're slowing down what you can't hear, funneling it towards certain approved people that aren't really talking about anything. So they could gossip about politics and this and that, but if you don't get to the core of what's going on, we're never going to save this country. And that's by design what's happening. So you're going to get the brand of conservatism that's safe for them, because every conservative that gets you know what, I'm just gonna keep it at that, because there's good people, you know, rising the ranks and stuff. But all right, I'm in the zone. Someone said, can't wait for your book to come out. I might write 5 chapters today. I might flex on and write 5 whole chapters. We'll see. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you, brother. God bless. Thank you, my man. Someone said, I got Candace's book. It's awesome. Awesome. I think I'm getting a signed copy. I texted her and asked if I could have a signed copy for the collection. So you'll see the Candace book here soon. You know, I'll show it off and give her some promo when I get it. So hopefully I'm getting mine in the mail eventually. Can we say flame retardant? Exactly. Flame retardant is a great word when used properly. Let me see. Someone said you're going to get nationally known with this book. No, I'm going to get banned from Amazon with this book. Just wait. John said, it's simply about control. Words contain thoughts. Yeah, exactly. You get it. Yeah, we'll see what happens with my book. I don't think I'm going to get nationally known. I think I'm going to get nationally banned and blacklisted, but it's okay. It's good so far. I'll make an audio version for sure. I'll do that. But you want to get a soft copy or hard copy. I don't know. You want like a thick. You want to have it just in case the internet shuts down. Then you got my book. I just want to get it out there, so if the internet goes down, I have some sort of physical copy of something that I've done. Everything's digital now, so I need a copy. It's good. They're gonna say my book is racist, sexist, xenophobic, and anti-Semitic because I'm literally talking about those words. I'm going through every word. Climate denier, racist, sexist, xenophobe, anti-Semitic, Islamophobe, all the words that they use to censor people and take out of context. So they're literally probably gonna turn it and say that I'm all those things when I'm explaining perfectly how I'm not, but it's gonna be a funny time. I don't really care at this point. I'm a hat salesman now, guys. If all else fails, I'm just gonna sell hats. That's why you gotta go to dreamrare.com, because not only are these hats awesome, but at a certain point, if they start messing with me, I'll just keep selling more hats. I'll become a hat salesman. Look, I got hats here. Hat. I'll just look, made in America. Hat. Never mind. Sorry, that was unnecessary. My beard is getting thick. Yeah, it's true. Who do I contact? My shirt hasn't come in 3 weeks. My hat came in 2 days. Anna, you could email me. Let me see. I'm gonna look real quick here. I'll do it for you right now. Since I've been here talking for this long, I'm gonna look in the back end of the store right now. Let me see. Anna, hold on. If your name is the same on here, let me see. Is your last name the same or no? Let me see. I'm looking it up. Maybe it's different. Oh yeah, it says partially. Let me see. August 31st. Thank you for telling me. Let's see. Your hat came and your shirt didn't come? Let me see. Oh, let me see. Submitted design. Let me see. Are you on the hold? Yeah, I'm gonna look into it. It does say partially filled, Anna. So something got caught up with the. Let me see. Something got caught up with the hat design for some reason. That was early on. I'm gonna work on that, and I'm gonna make sure they ship it ASAP. So thank you for saying that. I caught it. They did 4 hats like that. When the first hat design came, I'll let y'all know real quick. The design, I had to flip it from embroidery or something, so 4 of them got held. So that one got held. Good point. All right, I'm gonna talk to them right now. Thanks for letting me know. All right, I'm gonna take off. God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I appreciate y'all. Yeah, thanks for hanging out today. I'll be back with more videos, but I know a lot of people say I'm not streaming as much, but I enjoy the short videos and I find them very useful. You know, they're short, they're easy to share, they're right to the point. I'm just laying stuff out, so I'm probably gonna do less live videos, but I'll do a few, maybe a week. But I enjoy the short videos, and you know, it's effective. They're all just getting shared all over the place and spreading stuff about the fires and such. So we'll keep on it. But thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys. I'll be back soon.